Om Namo Narayanaye. Om Namo Narayanaye.
Asmat Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Guru Bhyo Namaha. So today we're going to have a little look at a little book in PDF form called Homa Samgraha. Samgraha means to bring together, a collection. And Homa, of course, means to do a fire ritual or fire sacrifice, or yagya, or sometimes called yaga. And we have a picture of some sages doing a sacrifice in the forest here on the front cover. This is put together by Pandit Sri Rama Ramanujachari in Australia. And here's the table of contents. So we're just going to go through it bit by bit, so we won't bother going through all the things in the table of contents. We're going to start off on page 3, Purvangam. Purvangam means, anga means a limb or a section. Purvangam means either the eastern section or the first section. So Purvangam means the first things, preliminaries to be done. So he says here general preliminaries. So the first thing he says is you should pray to the Guru. Okay, so normally we do this. Asmat Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Guru Bhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Guru Bhyo Namaha. Of my obeisances, of my respects to my Guru, to all my Gurus, and to all of their Gurus, and to all Gurus, like to the Guru, like that. Because without the grace of the Guru, we can't go any further. So we start with that. And he's given a little mantra here: Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, or Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Very common. You'll hear Hindus and Vaishnavas know this. This is very, very simple. So salutations to that glorious Guru, who is the creator, preserver, transformer, who is the great Lord himself, and directly perceived form of God. So we have teachers, different teachers, and we consider them to be, we honor them as much as God. Okay, so that first of all, he says just pray to the Guru. And then the next thing is Shanti Pataha. So Pataha means to recite, a recitation, and Shanti means peace. So recitation for peace. A lot of times you hear in the beginning and end of Upanishads, they have what's called Shanti Pats. This is one of them. And normally at the end, we chant Om Shanti, Shanti. Shanti means there should be 3 types of peace. There should be peace from Adhyatmic, Adibautic, Adidaivic. There should be these 3 types of peace. The Adhyatmic means problems that we have with our own mind and body. Adidaivic, problems we have with natural disturbances. And Adhyatmic, Adibautic. Adidaivic, Adibautic. Adibautic means with other living beings if they have problems. Okay. So here we can always start off mantras with Om. So even here before, Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu. Here we can chant Om Bhadram Karne Vishrinayama Deva Bhadram Pasyemakshir Bhir Yajatraha Stirairangai Stustuvagum Sasranobihis Yasema Deva Hitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vriddashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishpadvedaha Swastina Saksho Aristanemehi Swastino Brihaspati Dadatu, and it goes on. This is from Taittiriya Brahmana 3.1.2.1. And you notice that there are different swara markings or tonal markings above the transliterated text here. So these are Vedic mantras. They should be learned not from this video, but they should be learned from a proper recording or personally. The best thing is to learn personally from a Veda party, somebody who knows the Veda properly, to get the proper intonation like that. So I've just given an indication of how it's to be chanted like that. So this is called a Shantipat. Anugya is the next thing. So we just pray for peace so that we can perform the ritual, right? Anugya means taking permission. Taking permission, normally you're doing a ritual for you or your family, or for your community, for other people, and so there'll be people who are either yajamanas, who are sponsors of the ritual, and you're helping them do it, or you're the yajamana, you're the one that wants to do the ritual, and there are other people who are also attending the ritual. They're also like family members, or it could be the wider community, the temple, or whatever it is. So this is called Anudya, taking permission from the assembly. So Namasarase, Namasarasas Padaye, Namasaki, Nam Puroganam Chakshuse, Namo Dive, Namat Pradivyayi. So you chant this. And Prata Sabame Gopaya, Ye Chasabya Sabaha Sadaha, Tadindriya Vrata Kuru, Sarvam Ayurupa Satam, like that. Right? So this is also from Taittiriya Samhita 324 and Taittiriya Brahmana 111035. In case I didn't mention it before, all these mantras, most of the mantras are going to come from the Taittiriya branch of the Krishna Yajurveda. Now, if you're following a different Veda, if you're following the Rig Veda, if you're following a branch of the Shukla Yajurveda or the Sama Veda, then there are similar, if not exactly the same mantras for those different branches of the Veda, and they may be chanted in a slightly different way. All of that is bona fide, and you just have to learn one proper way. Normally, you learn the way according to the branch of the Veda that you follow. Since we follow mostly Krishna Yajurveda, so we're chanting like that. So now we have Ashesha, He, Parishat, Bhavat, Padamule, Maya, Samarpitam, Imam, Sauvarnim, Yat Kinchid Dakshinam, which means just a little bit of a small gratuity, a small dakshin, or a small amount of money or token gifts to give to the Brahmins, right? Yatokta Dakshinam, Eva, Svikritya, and then there's a blank there, and in the blank we were going to put the name of the particular ritual that we're going to perform, the particular Homa that we're going to perform, right? Whatever that rite is, maybe it's a samskara, maybe it's maybe it's some other thing like a Sudarshana Homa, whatever it is. Sudarshana Homakyam or Vivaha Homakyam, whatever it is. Homa Karma Kartum Yogyata Siddhim Anugrahana. Right? So, O Assembly of Learned Brahmins, may this gratuity which is offered at your feet, whatever it may be acceptable to you. Please grant me your sanction to perform this rite. Okay, so normally this is the Yajamana. This is said by the Yajamana. If the Yajamana or the sponsor of the puja doesn't know how to say this in Sanskrit, then the main priest or the head priest, who's called the Acharya or the Deshika, will say it word by word, and the Yajamana will repeat it. And then after doing this, he will give all of the priests involved in the ritual a token dakshina or a token reward, right? At the beginning, he doesn't reward them completely until the puja is completely finished, the ritual is completely finished. But in the beginning, he has to give them a taste. He gives them a little bit of the dakshina. So he gives them a gold coin and a set of clothes, a dhoti and an angavastram, and certain things, some betel nut, some whatever it is, some fruits, and presents them to each one of the priests. The main priest is called the Acharya or the Deshika. The other priests are called Ritviks, which means they're the assistant priests. They all are knowledgeable Brahmins who know how to perform the ceremony. So here we have the Sankalpa, which comes after that. So after that, and in a bigger ceremony than this, there'll be an actual complicated ritual where the Yajamana chooses the main priest, and the main priest chooses his assistant priests. So there are Ritviks, and then there are Paricharakas. A Paricharaka is a gopher, is a person who goes for this and goes for that. He goes and gets different samagris or ingredients for the ceremony. Sometimes when you go into big temples, big ancient temples in India, there'll be an archika or pujari who actually touches the deity and performs the worship and offers the things to the deity. And then there's an assistant pujari called a paricharaka who doesn't have the right to touch the deity. He doesn't have the training to do the rituals, but he goes and he gets the items. He hands the lamp, or he hands the fan, or he hands something to the pujari. He brings the boga offering, he brings the food offering, whatever it is. He's called a paricharaka. So you have the head priest, who's called an acharya, or a bhattacharya, or a deshika. The assistant priest, Ritviks, and the paricharaka, who is going to get different things, different items for the puja. Actually, in Vedic sacrifices, each one of the Vedas has a particular, there's a head priest, and then there's a head priest for each of the Vedas. And each one of the Vedic priests, or the 4 Vedic priests, has 3 other priests who are his Ritviks, his assistant priests, and they all have particular names and particular duties. But we don't need to go into that, because what we're doing here in this book is not Vedic sacrifices. So there are Shrauta homas, and there are or yagyas, and there are Smriti, Smarta. There are homas which are done according to Smarta or Agama or Purana, right? According to different texts, classical texts, and there are sacrifices which are called Vedic or Shrauta sacrifices, which are done according to the Shruti or the Vedas. The Vedas meaning the Samhitas, the Aranyakas, the Brahmanas, and the Upanishads. Okay, so this is a sankalpa. Sankalpa means a vow or resolve. In the beginning, all of the priests and the yajamana, they take a resolve to to do this ritual, and they mention which rituals they're going to perform, and then they do it in a ritualistic way. So you start off Tadeva Lagnam, Surinam Tadeva, Tarabalam, Chandrabalam Tadeva, Vidya Balam, Deva Balam Tadeva, Lakshmi Pate Te, Angriyugam Smarami. Hari Om Tat Sat, and we can do. Sometimes people, the Brahmins, if they're standing, they can hold their hands crossed in front of their chest as a sign of determination. It's like a mudra for determination. Or you hold your hands in the Sankalpa mudra, right hand over the at 90 degrees, the left hand on top of the right knee, and say. Sometimes you're holding akshata, or it's rice dipped in, mixed in turmeric, or some flowers or flower petals. And sometimes it's just the 2 hands together, and you touch water after you say this vow, which means that you can't break the vow. Okay. So Hari Om, also when you start a sentence with Om or Hari Om, right? You're not, if it's a promise, then you're supposed to keep it. So Hari Om Tat Sat, Shri Govinda Govinda Govinda, Sube Shobhane Muhurte Adye, Brahmano Sri Bhagavato Mahapurushasya Sri Vishnu Adhyaya Parvatamanasya Adi Brahmanaha Tutiya Purari Sri Svetavaraha Kalpi Vaivashvadaman Vantari Astavimsati Tame Kali Yugasya Pratama Padi Jambudvipe Meroho Agneya, and that can change in depending on where in the world you're situated in relationship to the Himalayas, which is where Mount Meru is. Right, the direction, you can put that in. He's put in here Agneya, because Agneya means southeast, and from the Himalayas southeast is Australia, and he's in Australia. So you can substitute that. Down the bottom there'll be a footnote giving different directions. Digbage, Hiranmaya Varshe, Hiranmaya Deshe, and so he calls the continent and the country of Australia as Hiranmaya, which means the golden continent. All of the other dashes here in the Sankalpa are to be, you either say Amukha, which means whatever, such and such in Sanskrit, because you don't know the actual thing that needs to go in the dash, where the dash is. These things change. Or you know what needs to go in the dash, and therefore you put it in, right? So Desh Amukha Deshe, Amukha Mahanagari Antargate, Vyavaharika Nam Prabhavadi Shasti Samvatsarana Madhye, Amukha Nama Samvatsare, Amukha Layane, Amukha Vito, Masotame, Amukha Mase, Amukha Pakshe, Amukha Tito, Karane, Shubha, Yoga, Shubha Karane, Sakala Graha, Guna Visheshana Vishishtayam. And you can read the translation here. And in this box here, if the Homa is to be done for a specific purpose or a specific person, right? Then you can add Asyam, Shubhatito, Mama, if you're doing it for yourself, in the square brackets, Asya Yajamanasya, if you're doing it for somebody else, on behalf of somebody else, right? Upata Samasta Duritakshaya Dvara Shri Parameshwara Prityatam, Amukha Nakshatre Jatasya, or Jataya, whether the person you're doing it for is masculine or feminine. Their name, Namasya, Amukha Namasya, Amukha Amukakya Kama Karishye, right? or Kurishyami. Some people say Kurishyami if they're doing it for other people. Kurishe if you're doing it for yourself. So that's all pretty standard stuff. Then, if you want to add something, this is the main thing that you're doing, whatever it is, the main Homa that you're doing, the main samskara that you're doing. Say you're doing a Sudarshana Homa, or you're doing a wedding, or you're doing something. So you put that in, on that dash before Akya. Certain karma, whatever karma you're doing. So then after that, if there's some ancillary, if there's some other parts of the ceremony that you want to now do a sankalpa for, so as well as the main ceremony, we're also doing these other ceremonies. So the main two other ceremonies that we do in the Purvangam is we perform Ganesh Puja or Vigneshwara Puja. Vigna means obstacle, so Vigneshwara means the Lord of obstacles. He gets rid of all the obstacles to the puja. So Vigneshwara Puja, or sometimes people, Sri Vaishnavas or Vaishnavas in general, might do Vishvaksena Puja. Vishvaksena is also a clearer of obstacles for Vaishnavas. So either Ganesh or Vishvaksena Puja, or maybe somebody wants to do both of them. They want to clear, So here he's mentioned Vigneshwara Puja. So it says Tadanga plus that other anga, that other limb of the ceremony is going to be Taranga Tvena Nirvignena Sanam Parisamapyatam Adau Vigneshwara Pujam Karishye. I'm also going to do that Vigneshwara Puja to clear away obstacles. Then on top of that, the other thing that I have to do is I have to make some holy water because I want to purify something in the ceremony. So I want to purify myself. I want to purify my body. I want to purify, I want to purify this yagshala, the place where we're doing the homa. I want to purify the house. I want to purify my well in the backyard. I want to purify this, this place. So there's something I want to do to purify, right? So we say Taranga Tvena. And so all of these other things which are ended with Sudyartam, Antakarna Sudyartam, Sharira Sudyartam, Mandapa Sudyartam, Sarvopakarna Sudyartam, Swasti Punyahavachanam Purishya. You can leave all that stuff out. If you just want it, you can just say Swasti Punyahavachanam Purishya. If you know the specific thing, then you can put it in. Sharira Sudyartam means, Antakarna means I want to purify my consciousness and myself. Sharira Sudyartam, I want to purify my body. Mandapa, I want to purify this yagshala or this mandapa, this arena, the sacrificial arena. Sarvopakarana Sudyartam, for different purposes, I want to purify, right? Swasti Punyahavachanam Purishya. Swasti means auspicious, and I want to perform the Punyahavachanam. Punyahavachanam is the second. Now, I was mentioning before that there are 3 ways to make holy water to use for purifying things. One way is very simple. I mean, maybe we could say 4 ways. Okay, one way is very, very simple, where we just call the holy rivers to come into to be present in some water in a pot, and then we use that to sprinkle. Second way would be we actually perform Kalasha Puja. Kalasha Puja means we have a pot, and we say some Quranic mantras, and we perform puja of the pot, and we invoke the rivers to the. Third is Punyahavachanam, which we've mentioned here, which is the normal thing which people do. It's called Punyahavachanam. It involves the worship of Pundarikaksha or Varuna, the god of the waters, in the pot, or Pundarikaksha Varuna, Vasudev Punyavat for Pancharatric Punyahavachanam. There's 2 different types. Here we're going to be talking about the smarta type. This book is completely about smarta pujas and smarta homas. So we're going to be doing according to Shmitis, according to the Agamas or the Shmitis, non-Vedic Punyahavachanam. So the Punyahavachanam that we do, right, we are going to worship, if we're going to do it in a temple, Vishnu temple or something, that has to be done according to the different Agamas. The Pancharatric Agama version of Punyahavachanam is called Vasudeva Punyahavachanam. This is simple, regular Punyahavachanam, which is done by worshipping Varuna in the pot, like that. And then there's a much more elaborate, which you can do. Let's say you're doing an Upanayam ceremony, sacred thread ceremony, or doing a wedding or something like that, whatever it is, Vivaha Samskara. You will do the Punyahavachanam. You can do even a greater Punyahavachanam, a more elaborate Punyahavachanam, which is called Udaka Shanti. Udaka means water, Shanti means peace. So Udaka Shanti involves chanting a lot more mantras that are there in the regular Punyavachana. So here, he's mentioned here the different directions from the Himalayan mountains, and he's used southeast, Agneya, right? So we have Purva, which means east, Dakshina means west. I'm sorry, south. Paschima means west. Uttara means north. Northeast is Aishanya. Southeast is Agneya. Southwest is Nairiti, and that should be just that should be Nair, no dot, and then an R with a dot underneath it. So there's a spelling mistake there. And northwest Vayavya, right? Okay. So if we're going around, if we go from the east and we start at the east and we go around clockwise, it's going to be east, Purva, southeast, Agneya, south, Dakshina, southwest, Nairitya, west, Paschima, northeast, Aishanya, and northwest, Vayava, north, Uttara, and northeast, Aishanya, and then you come back around to the east. Okay. So, all right. So now he said he's going to do all those things. Either the priest has said that he's going to do that, or the yajamana, the person who's actually going to perform it himself, or the priest who's going to perform it on his behalf has said he's going to do it. So we're now going to do this Ganesha Puja. There's lots of different ways to do Ganesha Puja or Vishvaksena Puja, like that. They all basically involve offering Soda Supachara 16 different services like that. Normally what people do is they have either a little Ganesh deity, or they have a little cone made of turmeric. They get turmeric and they add a little water to it and make a little cone out of that, plasticine type cone, and put a little dab of kumkum on the top, red kumkum on the top, and they invoke Ganapati into that. The other thing that you can do if you don't want to use turmeric is you can use a betel nut. You can get a supari nut, which is an areca nut, and you can invoke Ganapati in the areca nut, or Vishvaksena. Vishvaksena, normally in Pancharatrik, so if you're doing Vishvaksena Puja, they usually make a kurcha. Kurcha is a couple of blades of kusha grass, which are about a span of a hand long, with a Brahma Granthi in them, a figure eight type knot in the end that has the tips in it, so the tips are sticking out, and lay that on a leaf on a plate, and then invoke Vishvaksena in there. Okay, so they start off with a dhyanam. All pujas start off with a dhyanam. You've got to meditate on the deity that you're going to invoke. So there's a couple of mantras here for the dhyanam. Gajananam, Bhuta Ganadi Sevitam, Kapita Jambu Palasala Bhakshanam, Umasutam, Shoka Vinasha Karanam, Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam. And then Ekadantam Supakarnam, Surpakarnam, Gajavakram Mahodaram, Pashankusha Dharam Devam, Yayat Siddhivinayakam. So there's a particular form of Ganapati. There's lots of different forms of Ganapati, or Ganesh, or Vigneshwara. And this particular one is talking about Siddhi Vinayaka, who gives the Vinayaka, or the Ganesh that gives us perfection, like that. So now we're going to offer that meditation to Sri Ganesh, and he's going to say, Om Bhurbhavassuvaha, Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha, Dhyayami. I meditate upon you. Avahayami, I invoke you. I invoke you to come here, right, wherever you are in the Bhurbhavassuvaha, in the material world. Om Bhurbhavassuvaha, Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha, right? Or it could be Gam Ganapataye Namaha, whatever the Mula mantra is that you use to address Ganesh in this, or Vigneshwara in this particular puja. Jayami, I meditate on you. Avahayami, I call you, I invoke you. Stapayami, I establish you. Gandakshara Pushpani Samarpayami. Samarpayami, I offer to you. Gandakshara Pushpani, some flower or flower petal dipped in sandalwood paste and some rice mixed with turmeric, right? I offer to you, right? And please be present, like that. And some people have different mudras and things like Avahanam, Stapanam. They have different mudras that they offer like that. But in the beginning, people should just try to learn the mantras and meditate upon the deity of Vigneshwara or Ganesha, whoever it is being present, or Vishwaksena being present, and then offer the different items to him. So, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Asam Samarpayami, offer him a seat. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Padyam Samarpayami, offer him Padyam, water for washing the feet. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Agni Samarpayami, offer him water for washing his hands. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Achmaniyam Samarpayami, offer him Achmaniyam to his mouth 3 times and throw out thought. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Snanam Samarpayami. All of this you can ring the bell in the left hand, and you can offer with the right hand, either with the spoon from a vessel if you're offering a liquid, or you can offer with your right hand. You can pick up flowers or flower petals or whatever, kumkum or akshata, whatever you're offering to Ganesh. Okay, then after the bath, then snananantaram punyachmaniyam samarpayami. After bath, I'm going to offer you some more achman. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Vastratan Akshatan Samarpayami. Instead of offering you clothes, I'm going to offer to use some akshata, right? Because this is a very simple puja, and you've got a very small deity, or you've got a cone of turmeric, or in the case of Vishwaksena, you've got a kurcha, so you can't put clothes on a kurcha or a little turmeric cone deity. So you're just going to offer some akshata, some rice bits with turmeric, right? And you're going to think of those as clothes. You're going to say, these is the substitute for clothes. So wherever you see this word artam, it means for the purpose of, right? So vastra artam akshatan samarpayami. Then Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, upavitartam akshatan samarpayami. In form of for a Brahmin thread, I'm going to offer you some akshata, right? Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, abharana artam, right? Akshatan samarpayami. I'm going to offer you abharanas or ornaments in the form of some akshata. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, divya gandhan samarpayami. Gandhan samarpayami. I'm going to offer you some sandalwood paste. How do I do that? I dip a flower petal in some sandalwood paste, and I put it on the like that. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, divya gandhan samarpayami. Gandasyo parikumkum samarpayami. On top of the kumkum, on top of the ganda, the sandalwood paste that I put on you. You can do it with your finger also. Just stick a dot of sandalwood paste on the deity. On top of that, I'm going to take some kumkum, some red vermilion powder, and I'm going to put that on top of the wet. You can have the dry powder, and it goes very nicely on the wet sandalwood paste. Okay. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Pushpa Mala Samarpayami. I'm going to offer a flower garland to you. And then here he has Archana. Archana means, we sometimes say Nama Archana. Nama Archana. Nama is the names, different names of Vishwaksena or Ganesh or whatever deity we're worshipping. And we preface the name, we put the name in the dative case, the singular dative case, and we preface it with Omkara and end it with Namaha. So we say, and then as we do it, we'll offer some akshata to the deity at the feet of the deity, or offer some flower petals at the feet of the deity, or if it's a goddess, normally we'll offer some kumkum at the feet of the deity, like that, and you might keep a small plate or a small leaf cup at the feet of the deity to hold those things, and then we can give those things as prasadam to the people who are the sponsors of the puja. So, Om Sumukhaya Namaha, Om Kapilaya Namaha, Om Lambodharaya Namaha, Om Vignarajaya Namaha, Om Dhumraketave Namaha. Oh, I'm sorry, he was going across like this. Om Sumukhaya Namaha, Om Ekanantaya Namaha, Om Kapilaya Namaha, Om Gajakarnakaya Namaha, Om Lambodharaya Namaha, Om Vikataya Namaha. There's a mistake here, there shouldn't be 2 Namahas. Om Vignarajaya Namaha, Om Vinayakaya Namaha, Om Dhumraketave Namaha, Om Gandhyakshaya Namaha, Om Balachandraya Namaha, Om Gajananaya Namaha, Om Vakratundaya Namaha, Om Surpakarnaya Namaha, Om Hirambaya Namaha, Om Skandapurvajaya Namaha, Om Siddhivinayakaya Namaha, Om Vigneshwaraya Namaha. Like that, you know. Now, if you can go faster than that, of course, and if you want to speed up the puja. If you don't know all the names of the particular deity that you're offering to, then you can just chant the names of Lord Vishnu. And I'm sure Ganesh and certainly Vishwaksena is going to be happy if he hears the different names of Vishnu. So you can do 12 names or 24 names of Vishnu. Kesavana Namaha, Narayana Namaha, Madhavaya Namaha, Govinda Namaha, Vishnu Namaha, like that. Okay. So, but these are specific names for Ganesh. Okay. So then once we're finished the Nama Archana, then we're going to offer Dhupa Deepa Naivedya. like that. So we're going to offer the incense. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Dhupam Agrapayami. Now you notice here, and Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. So we offer the incense, but Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, Pratyaksha Deepam Darshayami. Okay. So you notice here that he has, instead of putting Samarpayami, he's put Agrapayami for the Dhupam and he's put Darshayami for the Deepam. For the incense and the lamp, he's changed the verb here. Okay. So you can say Samarpayami if you like. It's nicer if you use these other alternatives, Agrapayami and Darshayami. Agrapayami means I offer this for you to smell instead of just I offer it to you. Darshayami means I show you this. I offer this to show you because it's a light, you know. So also here he said Pratyaksha Deepam, right? So specifically here he's talking about he's not even going to offer a lamp, you know, in the sense of a camphor lamp or a small ghee wick or something like that. He's actually going to offer, he's just going to say to Ganesh here, you look at this lamp that I have a standing lamp here, which I've lit the incense from. And it's just, there's a flame there, and be happy just by seeing that standing lamp. A Pratyaksha Deepam Pratyaksha means directly perceivable. Direct perception is called Pratyaksha, right? So Pratyaksha Deepam is a lamp that's just already standing there in the deity room or in the Yagshala. It's always lit. So he's saying Gam Ganapataye Namaha Pratyaksha Deepam Samarpayami or Darshayami here, right? Then he says Dupa Deepa Antaram, he's written Dupa Deepa Antaram, but we can put it all together. When we put Deepa Antaram together, it becomes Deepa Antaram, right? With the Sanskrit words together in Sandhi, makes a long A. Dupa Deepa Antaram Purna Achmaniyam Samarpayami. I'm going to offer you again Achmana, right? After I offered you the incense and the lamp. Next thing is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Naivedyam Nivedayami. Nivedayami is also a different verb. I feed you. I'm going to feed you, right? And we can say Naivedyam. Some people say Mahanavedyam. Mahanavedyam Nivedayami, right? If you want to be simple, if you don't know these words of Agrapayami, Darshayami, Nivedayami, you can say Samarpayami. I offer to you. It's enough, right? So you can say Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Nivedyam Samarpayami. Or you can say Mahanavedyam Nivedayami, like that. And then there's also a way to offer Naivedyam, which he hasn't mentioned here. He hasn't made it difficult. But normally when people offer Naivedyam or food to any deity, they go through the ritual of Brahma Bhojana, the same type of ritual that the twice-born people in India, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas do before they eat, right? Which they do Parisechanam. They put water around the food, and then they offer 5 morsels of food to the 5 life heirs of the particular deity, like that. So I can just chant that quickly and you'll get an idea of it. If you want to know how to do it later on, it's very simple. Anybody can ask me like that. So if we were going to offer food to Ganesh, we will Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. As he says here, Naivedyam Nivedayami Om Bhurvava Subhahara Enyam Bhagode Vasidimihi Dioyona Patrode Ate Devasavara Prasuvaha Sakam Tatena Prasinchami, if it's before noon, after in the afternoon or the evening. Ritam Tatena Prasinchami, Om Amrito Pastaramasi, you offer him some water to rinse his mouth first. Om Amrito Pastaramasi, Om Pranaya Swaha, Om Apanaya Swaha, Om Dhyanaya Swaha, Om Udanaya Swaha, Om Samanaya Swaha, Om Brahmane Swaha. Right? And Sri Vaishnavas or Vaishnavas might say Sri Govindaya Namaha. And then Amrita Pidanamasi, they might say Madhye Madhye Paniyam Samarpayami. So in the middle of the meal, you might offer the deity some water to drink, because normally when you eat a meal, you're also going to drink at the same time. So you might offer in the middle of the meal, you say Madhye Madhye Amrita Paniyam or Paniyam, right? It could be nectarine water or it could just be water, which you offer to him to drink along with the meal, like that. And then at the end of the meal, again, he takes water on the which is called the Uttara Poshanam, the Purva Poshanam, Uttara Poshanam, in the beginning of the meal and the end of the meal, to clean the body and make a place for sitting of the food, and afterwards to cover it, right? We offer some water, so that last water will be Amrita Pidanamasi, and you can throw that out too. That water is offered to like an Achman. And that's if that's not clear, then you have to get in touch with me, and you have to go through this system bit by bit learning how to do that. But here, what he's done is he's made it very, very simple, and he hasn't included that part, right? Because he's made it very simple. So then after the Naivedyam, then you're going to offer water for washing the mouth, right? Naivedyantaram, Naivedya Antaram, or Naivedyantaram. Purna Achamaniyam Samarpayami. Again, 3 times, you're going to offer water for washing the mouth. Om Gam Ganeshaya Namaha, or Ganapataya Namaha. Tambulam Samarpayami, you offer some betel nut or some shaved areca nut, or some tambulam, which is some spiced betel nut. Or it could be mukhavasa, it could be just different spices without the betel nut. Okay, in which case you can say mukhavasa samarpayami if you're not offering betel nut. Then he says, chant the Gayatri of the deity, like this. In this case, the Gayatri of Ganesh is Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratandaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayate. He hasn't put in the Vedic swaras here. So what we would have to do is go look for this Gayatri mantra and find out where the swaras are. For Krishna Yajurveda, if you look in the Yajnika Upanishad, which is also called the Mahanarayana Upanishad, which is sometimes considered to be the 4th part of the Taittiriya Upanishad, there's a section on Gayatris, and this one is mentioned in it. So you can go to the Mahanarayana Upanishad and you can find out the proper swaras for this particular Ganesh Gayatri. Ekadantaya Vidmahe, Vakratundaya Dhimahi, Tanno Danti Prachodayate. If you don't know a Vedic mantra, then you can just chant it Ekashruti, which means without the swaras, in one tone. There's a statement by Panini in his Astadhyaya to that effect. Okay, so now it goes after saying the Gayatri, then we say Om Gam Ganapataya Namaha, Ananda Kapura Nirajanam Sandarshayami. Ananda Kapura Nirajanam Sandarshayami, and he hasn't mentioned all of what all these things are because you're supposed to be familiar. People who read this are supposed to be familiar with offering puja. So Ananda, okay, means bliss, but Kapura, for your bliss. Kapura means camphor. Nirajanam means to offer a lamp. Nirajanam. Samdarshayami. Instead of darshayami here, he's put samdarshayami. It means the same thing. I'm showing you this lamp, and it's a camphor lamp. So you take some camphor, light it from the projection deepam, the stand lamp, put it on the lamp, the flat lamp, and you're going to offer it in Arti style, ring the bell on the left hand as you are with everything else. And you say Kapura Nirajanam, Nirajanantaram, Puna, Om Gam Ganapataya Namaha, Ananda Kapura Nirajanam Sandarshayami. And then after you finish that, you can say Kapura Nirajanam Antaram. So Kapura Nirajanantaram, after, Anantaram means afterwards, right? After offering the lamp, Puna Achamaniyam Samarpayami, I'm going to offer you Achaman again. Then there's a prayer, there's some prayers to say at the end to Ganesh here. It's Ganesh Puja. Om Vigneshwaraya Vidmahe, Om Vigneshwaraya Varadaya Surapriyaya Lambodharaya Sakalaya Jagadhitaya Nagananaya Shruti Yagya Vibhushitaya Gauri Sutaya Gananatha Namo Namaste. All right, and here's some more prayers. Vakpatunda Mahakaya Kutasuri Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Anta Sharanam Nasti Anyata Sharanam Nasti Twameva Sharanam Mama Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Raksha Ganadipa. This is a mantra which a lot of Vaishnavas chant, but instead of Ganadipa, which means Ganesh or Vigneshwara, at the end they say Janardana. So you can have Anyata Sharanam Nasti Twameva Sharanam Mama Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Raksha means protect me, right? Janardana or Purushottama, whatever name of Vishnu you want to put in there. Usually Janardana, I think it's Avahanam Najanami, Avahanam Najanami, Naiva Janami Pujanam, Visarjanam Najanami, Shamashva Purushottama, or Lord, right? I called you, I invoked you. I do not know the proper method of invoking you or worshipping you. I also do not know the proper method of valedicting or sending you away after the puja is finished. Mantrahinam, Kriyahinam, Bhaktihinam, Vinayaka. Right? Again, it can be Janardana for Vaishnavas. Yat kritam tu maya deva paripunam tarastu me. This ceremony is lacking the proper mantras and methodology, lacking all devotion. Whatever little I have done, oh Ganesha, or if you say Janardana, oh Janardana, may that be accepted as complete by you. And that is the end of the Ganesh Puja. Now, if you're not doing Ganesh Puja, if you're doing Vishvaksena Puja, you follow the same system, similar system, but instead of worshiping Ganesh, you're worshiping Vishvaksena, right? So this Vishvaksena Pujanam he is given here. There's, again, like with Ganesh Puja, there's some differences in how different people do Ganesh Puja and Vishvaksena Puja, but he's given an example of how to do it here. So Sankalpa, again, you do the vow, Hari Om Tat Sat, Shri Govinda Govinda Govinda. He missed out, he didn't put a Shri in here. It should properly be Hari Om Tat Sat, Shri Govinda Govinda Govinda. Bhagavad Gyaya, Bhagavad Prityatam, Karishyamana Asya, or it could be Karishyamana Asya, Vagdanam Karmani, Tad Angatvena, Nirvignam Parisamaptyatam. It could be Parisamapti Artam. With the Sandhi, it becomes Parisamaptyatam. Adau Vishvaksena Pujam Karishya. Here, he's mentioned Vagdanam. So instead of the Vagdanam here, Vagdanam means a engagement ceremony when a couple, a man and a woman decide to marry, right? When a couple decide to marry and they're Vagdanam, the word Vagdanam means giving his word. So it means that the father of the bride and the father of the groom give their word to give their children in marriage to each other. Okay, so Dhyanam, we start off with the Vishvaksena Dhyanam, and here it is. So here, he's left this Vagdanam in here, but actually you should take that out, put a dash in there, and whatever puja you're going to perform, whatever karma you're going to perform, you should insert that there. Dhyanam, the meditation for Vishvaksena that he has. There are some more simple ones than this. My Pancharatric Guru, Vasudeva Bhattacharya, he always used to do a very simple one. Yasya Dhurvaktarja Parisadya Parasharam Vignam Niganti Sadam Vishvaksenam Tamashraya or Vishvaksenam Namamyaham. That's a very simple one. Here it's a little bit more fancy. So Vishvaksena Sakala Vibhuda Praudasena Dinatam Mudra Chakra Kala Kamala Yuge Shankha Dandho Dadanam Megasyamam Sumani Mukrutam Pita Vastram Shubhangam Yayad Devam Vijaya Kamam Sutravatyai Sametam. Sutravatyai is the name of his wife, Vishvaksena's wife. Okay, so that's the dhyanam for Vishvaksena. So then you say Om Bhur Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Om Bhuva Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Om Suva Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Om Bhur Bhava Suvaha Vishvaksena Mavahyami. So you're going to invoke him like that, right? And show Vahanam and Stapanam movements like that. Bhur Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Bhuva Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Suva Vishvaksena Mavahyami, Om Bhur Bhava Suvaha Vishvaksena Mavahyami. Again, you have a small Vishvaksena deity, or you have a kurcha on a leaf, or you have a small. You can also use a betel nut, a supari nut, or a small turmeric cone, just like with the Ganesh Puja. Okay, so here he's going to go very quickly through the thing. He's not even going to repeat the Mula mantra, but he's going to make it much quicker. In this second example of puja, he's not. The first one is more for beginners, and they're saying the Mula mantra over and over again. And if you have more time, you can do that. Otherwise, if you have less time, you can just say the Mula mantra once. Dim Vikshvaksenaya Namaha, or whatever it is, and whatever the Mula mantra for Vikshvaksena you're using. And then say Asanam Samapiyami, Agim Samapiyami, Padyam Samapiyami, Atmanim Samapiyami, Shnanam Samapiyami, Vastram Samapiyami, Upavitam Samapiyami, Alankaranatam Pushpam Samapiyami. Here, Artam, he's using a pushpa or a flower in place of Alankaram, in place of above in Ganesh Puja, it was called Abharanam, I think. Let's see. Above, he called it Abharna, Abharnartam Akshitan, right? The same thing down here is called excuse me, it's called Alankaranatam. Alankara and Bhushana, same thing, right? And here he's offering a flower instead of offering akshata as a substitute for that decoration. Then Gandhandarayami, Pushpai Pujayami. Now he's going to offer different pushpas, Pushpai Pujayami, and he's going to say, now these things can all be, my suggestion to people who are learning puja for the first time is you stick to one example. Here, the two examples, the example of Ganesh Puja and the example of Vishvaksena Puja are slightly different in format, right? So find a format that you like, that you can memorize, and then you can do that same offering of 16 article worship to any deity, right? You just need to know the difference. You need to know their Mula Mantra, their Gayatri Mantra, their Dhyana Mantra, that's it, and a few, maybe a prayer for the end of them to validate them. So, Pushpai Pujayami, now we're going to do the Nama Archana. He hasn't written the heading here, but this is the Archana. Om Shri Vishvaksenaya Namaha. And he hasn't mentioned the Om and the Namaha. He's just given the names in the dative case. So you're supposed to understand that, right? Because you know how to do worship, you know how to do puja. When you're reading, if you're reading a book like this, you know how to do puja. So you're supposed to understand that it's supposed to be Om Shri Vishvaksenaya Namaha, Om Chaturbhahave Namaha, Om Shankar Chakragadadharaya Namaha, Om Srimate Namaha, Om Shri Sutravati Nathaya Namaha, Om Gajashvamukha Sevataya Namaha, Om Prasana Vadanaya Namaha, Om Shantaya Namaha, etc. It's supposed to be like that. And so you know that. So probably the better way to do this, if you're making it for absolute beginners, is you have to write it out without all the Oms and all the Namahas so you don't forget. Right? But people who know how to do worship, they just see the names and they know how to add Namaha, Om Namaha to it. Like that. So let's continue on with it. Om Prabhakara Shama Prabhaya Namaha, Om Vetrapanaye Namaha, Om Rishikeshaya Namaha, Om Vishvaraksha Parayanaya Namaha, Om Bhaktan Antaraya Namaha, Om Vidvamshine Namaha, Om Aryaya Namaha, Om Amatyaya Namaha, Om Kripa Nireye Namaha, Om Shakala Vibhuda Prauda, Sainyadi Nataya Namaha, Om Mudradharaya Namaha, Om Dandadharaya Namaha, Om Mega Shamaya Namaha, Om Sumani Makutaya Namaha. Sumani, I think this should be Mukutaya Namaha, because I'm not sure if Makut is correct, because it means one who has a jeweled helmet, right? Pita Vastra, Om Pita Vastraya Namaha, Om Shubhangaya Namaha, Om Devaya Namaha, Om Dalita Dhanujaya Namaha, Om Tarjini Hastaya Namaha, Om Vignanashakaya Namaha, Om Saparivaraya, there's no Om here, Saparivaraya, Sutravatyai Sametaya, Srimate Vishvaksenaya Namaha. So Saparivaraya means along with his associates and his family and his wife, Sutravati, right? I offer to Vishvaksena, right? So these are the names. Then Dhupam Agrapayami, we offer Dhupam, incense. Deepam Darshayami, we offer a lamp. It can be a Prajaksha lamp, standing lamp, or it could be the camphor lamp. Later on, we're going to do the camphor lamp here. Kapura Nirajanam Darshayami. He's put Darshayami here. Before with Ganesh, you put Sun Darshayami. So you figure out which one that you're going to use. They both mean the same thing. And just have a standard way of doing it. Deepam Darshayami probably means the stand lamp, because he's not going to offer two lamps that are, or maybe he has an oil lamp and he offers it once and then he offers it again, like that. But here it says the camphor lamp usually comes at the end, which is called Arti or Harati in South India. Okay, so then Kadali Palam Nivedayami, right? So now this is interesting. Kadali Palam, there are different types of palam. Palam means fruit. Here he's chosen to offer Ganesh a banana. The banana, normally when we do this puja, it's not Ganesh, Vishvaksena, they're offering as a naivedya. It may be in the Ganesh Puja, they also offer bananas, but normally they take two small bananas and they break the ends of them and then offer them to the Lord. They always break the fruit in some way, break the skin of the fruit when you're going to offer it to a deity, because then you know if it's offered or not afterwards. like that. So kadari palam nivedayami means I'm offering one banana, but actually normally we should offer two bananas. So we should say kadali pale nivedayami. Okay. So tambulam samarpayami means we're offering some betel nut again, some pan or some sweet spices, mukhavasa. And then at the end, the camphor lamp arti, kapura nirajanam darshayami. Right? Then Om Vishwaksenaya Vidmahe Vetrahastaya Dhimahe Tanno Senani Prachodayat. Right? This is the Gayatri Mantra for Vishwaksena that you put there, right? Which you can say while you're even offering the lamp. Right? I can say Kapurani Rajanam Sandarshayami Om Vishwaksenaya Vidmahe Vetrahastaya Dhimahe Tanno Senani Prachodayat. Right? And then after that, I put my hands together in Anjali Mudra in front of my chest, and I'm offering obeisances to Vishwaksena and valedicting him. Divakaram Sarojacham Shankachakra Gadadaram Sarva Vigna Vinashaya Vishwaksenam Upasmahe Om Yasya Jura Vaktradya Parisadya Parasadam Vignam Nigyanti Sadatam Vishwaksenam Tamashraye. So that is the Ganesh Puja and the Vishwaksena Puja that he puts in the as the beginning here. Right. And there are, like I said, there's some slightly different ways to do it. Like that, you find your own way and write it out and learn one way and then do it, offer the same items for whatever deity that you're going to offer to. Now, after the Vigneshwara Puja or the Ganapati Puja or the Vishwaksena Puja to clear away the obstacles, the next thing is Lagu Punyahavachanam. So here we have this another, we're going to invoke Varuna. So it's a meditation or a dhyanam on Varuna. So sometimes people chant this, sometimes people don't chant this. There's a Vedic mantra to chant also down further on. So Naga Pashadaram Ristam Raktoga Jyoti Vigraham Sashanka Dhavalam Dhyayet Varunam Makarasanam Om Varunam Sweta Varnam Tapasa Hastam Rujasanam Moktikalankritam Devam Tirthanatam Maham Bhaje. Okay, so then we say Asmin. So that's a meditation on, he hasn't given the translation, but that's a meditation on Varuna. And then we say Asmin Kalashe, in this pot. We have a pot with a coconut on top with 5 mango leaves, which is filled with water. Might have some spices like nutmeg and cloves in the water. There can be some other things in the water too. It's sitting on a pile of rice on a banana leaf or on a plate, or it's just sitting on a plate. There are many directions for how to assemble a pot, mantras for filling the pot, for purifying the pot with incense smoke, different things. We don't need to go into all that now. Just simply put a pot together. And what is a pot? The pot or the kumbha or the kalasha is a prerequisite for punyavachanam, because you want to make the water in the pot pure. So the way you're going to do that is invoke Varuna in the water and worship him in there, and then the water is going to become pure by the chanting of particular mantras. So then you can use that pure water to sprinkle or to do whatever to other purifying prokshana or sprinklings that you need to do in the puja. Okay, so normally the pot is considered to be like a body. The pot is like a body. Sometimes people wrap threads around the pot, crisscross around the pot, which represent the nerves in the body. They then put the coconut on the top. Coconut is called in South India Shripalam, Lakshmi's fruit. And a lot of times they make the brown coconut. We're not talking about those green coconuts that they use sometimes in Bengal, like that. Normally people use the brown coconut and they take off the husk, except they leave the husk, one part of the husk on the top of the coconut, which is the shika. And then they take some turmeric and water and they cover the whole coconut with turmeric, and they can put a red line or a tilak on one part of the coconut. It's like a head. Put a tilak on it with kumkum, with red kumkum, like that, and that's nice. And then sit it on top of, we call panchapallava, 5 leaves from a mango tree, or from, if you don't have a mango tree, take some leaves like that and place them in the neck of the pot. There's water in the pot, place the coconut on top, and you're going to have that when you perform the Punyavachana. I'm sure there's some videos on YouTube that you can watch Punyavachana and see Punyavachana being done. If people don't know what it's going to look like, I can point you to some videos where they show you how to perform Punyavachana. So we're going to meditate upon Varuna inside the pot. So Asmin Kalashe means inside this pot, right? So Asmin Kalashe Varunam Vyayami, I meditate upon him. Avahiyami, I invoke him. Stapayami, I establish him. Gandakshita, Samarpayami, I'm going to offer him Ganda and Akshita, some sandalwood paste and Akshita rice with turmeric. Right? Then I'm going to do Pushpa Archana. Om Varunaya Namaha, Om Patejase Namaha, Om Sarupine Namaha, Om Pampate Namaha, Om Makaravahanaya Namaha, Om Anekamani Bhushitaya Namaha, Om Jaladipate Namaha, Om Vashahastaya Namaha, Om Jashanaya Namaha, Om Shakalatirtadipate Namaha. Like that. So these are, we note that we say Om Varunaya Namaha, and all of these are in the dative case, these names of Varuna. And he hasn't put the Om and the Namaha here again, because we know this is a type of Nama Archana, Pushpa Archana, that we're going to offer flowers, or we're going to offer Akshata or Kumkum to a particular deity with the names of the deity. Right? Then he says a Gayatri Mantra for Varuna. Om Jalabimbaya Vidmahe Nila Pushpaya Dhimahe Tanno Varuna Prachodayate. And he says Om Namo Namaste Astu Spatika Prabhaya Susveta Vastraya Sumangalaya Supasha Hastaya Jashashanaya Sanaya Jaladinataya Varunaya Namo Namaha. Okay. There are easier ways to do that than do this. This is not exactly the standard Punyavachanam, but there's it can be done in a slightly different way. Some people, they just start off with the Vedic Mantra, which we all know from Sandhyavandanam. It's from evening Sandhyavandanam. It's the valediction of the sun in the evening. And that is used for a prayer for Varuna, because the name Varuna is there in the mantra. Okay, so the mouth of the vessel with the right hand. So hold the mouth of the vessel with the right hand. Okay, so or show the Ankush Mudra, or touch with a bunch of kusa grass, right? So we're not sure here whether he actually has a coconut on top or not, right? He says, Shivam apasantu, santu Shiva apaha. Somanasyam astu somanasyam. Akshatam charistam chastu astavakshatam avistam. Bhava bhir anugyata punyaham vachayishye vachyatam. Okay, so what usually when you do this, when you do Punyavachanam, you have more than one priest. So the idea is all the statements on the left-hand side are called vachanas. All the statements on the right-hand side are called pativachanas, or replies. So usually the head priest who is performing the Punyavachanam will have his Ritviks or his assistant priests sitting by him. They will say the right-hand answer. So the head priest says, Shiva apa santu, and the Ritviks all together say santu Shiva apaha, like that. So call and response. Okay. And then they chant this mantra which is apparently from the Vajrasanaya Samhita 1244. I don't know this mantra, so I'm not going to attempt to chant it with swaras, but I'm just going to say Punas Twa Twaditya Rudra Vasavas Samindatam Puna Brahmano Vasunitta Yajyahi Kritena Tvam Tanvam Vardayasva Satya Santu Yajamanasya Kamaha. Okay, so you have to learn the proper. I don't know why he's mixed that in here, because Vajranaya Samhita is Sukriya Yajurveda and a pure Krishna Yajurveda. This is supposed to be a shortened Punyavachanam, Lagu Punyavachanam that he's done here, but actually it's seems like there's a few elements which I would consider to be extra. Okay, so then we have also got another vachanam and parivachanam. The head priest says, Bho Brahmana, means, oh Brahmanas, oh my assistant priests, Asya Yajamanasya Punyaham Bhavanto Bhavantu. Right? Is it auspicious? And they say, Om Punyaham Astu, Om Punyaham Astu, Om Punyaham Astu. Right? Or they could just say Om Punyaham, 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 Om Punyaham, Om Punyaham, Om Punyaham, something like that. Then again, they all say Swasti Mitra Varuna, Swasti Pataye Vevati, Swasti Na Indrascha Agnischa, Swasti No Adite Khidi. Right? Okay, I don't know where that's from, but we can look that up in the Vedic concordance. This is not exactly the standard way to do Punya Vachanam, but he's given this as a shortened form. Then again, the head priest says, so they all say the Vedic mantras are all chanted together, all of the priests together. Then Bho Brahmana Asya Yajamanasya Swasti Bhavanto Bhavantu. And the reply by the Ritvix, by the other priests are Om Swastirastu, Swastirastu, Swastirastu. 3 times. So then they have another one. This is from Taittiriya Brahmana 3.121. And it goes, I don't know if they're not off by heart. So Vidasma Avyer Namaso Pasadya Mitram Devam Mitra Deyam Namastu Anuradhan Havisa Vadayanta Shatam Jivema Sharadas Saviraha. Okay. So we go down, and again, the head priest is going to say, Bho Brahmana, O Brahmanas, Yasya Yajamanasya, Riddhim Bhavanto Bhavantu. Let there be. So we said, first of all, that let there be auspiciousness. Let there another type of punya. Punya means auspiciousness. Swasti means auspiciousness. Riddhi means increasing auspiciousness. Increase. So they say Om Riddhirastu, Riddhirastu, Riddhirastu. With the following directions: drip some water on the top of the kumbha. So you say Riddhirastu, Samriddhirastu, Punyahama, Samriddhirastu, Shantarastu, Pustirastu, Tustirastu, Riddhirastu, Avignamastu, Ayushamastu, Arogyamastu, Om Shivam Astu, Om Shivam Karmastu, Om Karma Samriddhirastu, Om Dharma Samriddhirastu, Om Veda Samriddhirastu, Om Shastra Samriddhirastu, Om Danadanya Samriddhirastu, Om Putra Pautra Samparastu, Om Ishta Samparastu. Right, so he made it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. Normally in Tamil Nadu, the people are not so many mantras there. Then drip some water on the ground or in the Nairiti cone. Again, here he put two Ris together. That's not correct. It's Nair without a dot, followed by R with a dot, which is the consonant followed by the vowel, and Niriti Kona. Niriti Kona is the southwest, I believe. Southwest. So look here. Southwest, Niriti. Yeah. Okay. So going on down here, continuing on. So in the Nairiti Kona. Okay, so Om Sakala Arista Nirasanamastu, Om Yat Papam Rogam Shokam Akalyanam Tat Dure Patihatam Astu. Right? Drip some water on the kumbha, means on the coconut, and the kumbha should be, right? Or it should be back into the kumbha. The coconut's not there. Sarvam Shobanastu, Sarvaha Samparastu. And then we start to chant some Om Sanno Astu Dvipade, Sam Chatuspade, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti Hi. And then he has some other Vedic mantras to chant. This is, does he say where it comes from? No. Okay, so there are some Vedic mantras to chant here, and I'm not going to attempt to chant all of them. Right, but we have a Shanti part, which is very, very, very common here at the end. Tachamyorapani mahe gatam yagaya gatam yagapate devi swastirastunaha swastirmanashebhyaha udvam jigata besajam shanno astudipade samcharispade om shanti is usually put there. Then it says Swaminaha mana samadhiyatam, right, which is the vachanam by the head priest, and the other priests say samahita manasasma. The head priest again says prasidatu bhavantaha, and they say the prasanna sma. Right. So then we do Varuna Udvasanam. And he says to do Varuna Udvasanam. Okay. In my opinion, you should actually do Soda Supachara Puja for Varuna. Right? So I would do Soda Supachara Puja for Udvasanam means valediction. You're sending Varuna away. But normally we do puja for Varuna. So sprinkle everything with holy water. Now we have holy water, so we can use this verse from Garuda Purana, which is a lot of people know this. Apavitra pavitrova savavashtam gatopiva yasmarit pundarikacham sabhaya bhyantara suchihi, and sprinkle. Satyam shuddham tapas shuddham jnanam shuddham tataivacha sarvabhuta daya shuddham jala shuddhancha panchama. Adbir gatrani sujyanti buddhir jnanena sujyati vidya tapobhyam shabhutatma manas satyena sujyati. Okay, and that is his Laghu Punyavachanam, which is certainly, I have to say, that is simpler, or at least shorter than the regular Punyavachanam, which is normally seen in South India. But I would say probably learn the regular Punyavachanam is probably easier. So the next part is after we do the Purvangam, the Vishvaksena Puja or the Ganesh Puja and the Punyavachanam. The next thing is we're going to do the Agni Mukham. Some people might be familiar with a thing called Kushandika. Kushandika means basically the same thing as Agni Mukham. If people who are familiar with Sakriya Sargipika Gaudiyas or something, they may see it as Kushandikam, like that. So the first thing in Agni Mukham means establishing the sacrificial fire, right? So number one, standila nirmanam. So it means establishing the place where you're going to setting up the pit or the fire altar. Where the fire is to be established, an altar or standila is to be prepared using soil, a cubit square. Cubit should be 18 inches square, right? It's a certain number. It's one hasta or one anyway, and covered with rice flour. So we can cover it with some rice flour so it's white. If you have a copper kunda or a brick kunda, right? If you're making your fire altar out of bricks, or if you have one portable one made of copper, right? Then rice flour is sprinkled on the bottom after it has been cleaned. Okay. So then we have the next thing is parisamuham. The standila is to be smoothed down with the hand. In a kunda meaning a pit made of brick or copper or whatever it is like that, rather than just a pile of earth, right, which would be a standila. In a kunda, the debris is cleared from the mekalas or steps. So if you have a kunda, you probably have different levels, like usually 3-level steps. It's like a step pyramid. All acts are done from left to right in cases of devas and right to left in case of mains or ancestors' pitris. So devatas, left to right, pitris, right to left, right? So then Reka Kriya. Reka Kriya means drawing lines. Reka means lines. So Kriya just means the procedure for putting the lines like that. Here he's given some procedure for making lines, which you can either use the handle of the shruva. The shruva is a small spoon. There's 2 spoons for offering items into the fire. And the traditional spoons are called shruka and shruva. They're also called darvi and itara darvi. Okay, so these are different names. You can use some leaves to do it with, or you can have special wooden spoons made, or you can have even sometimes people use these metal spoons like that. So he's saying here you can use a sprihya. Sprihya is a special wooden knife to make these lines. on the ground or on the bottom of the kunda, in the inside of the kunda, the Homa kunda. So using a sprayer or the handle of the shruva, it actually can be done. It should be done with the root of 2 kusha grass blades. So if you have kusha grass, you have 2 kusha grass blades in the right hand, and you use it to make the lines. Here he's given the lines, and he's given the numbers that you should do in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So actually, this way of doing the lines is normally done according to Bodhayana Rishi. But more common than Bodhayana Rishi is the Apastamba Rishi. He does them some in a different order. He does them first of all from west to east. You're sitting in the west facing east, right? Starting in the south, going north. You're offering lines 1, 2, 3 instead of here where it shows 1 in the middle, 2 to the south, 3 to the north. And the other lines that intersect them, he's got them as starting in the middle with 4, and then offering 5, which is in the west from south to north, and 6 in the east from south to north. Right. So again, that's Bodhayana's way. The Apastamba way for offering the three lines that go north are simply to start in the west and go 4, 5, 6, offer west, middle, and east line going north from south to north. Okay. So here he says he gives some mantras to say at the same time when making these lines. These are not actually the full mantras that Bodhayana Rishi suggests. Okay, since he's following the Bodhayana system of lines, he's giving these shortened mantras. Om Brahmane Namaha, Om Yamaya Namaha, Om Sumaya Namaha, Om Rudra Namaha. Now I think that's correct. That's incorrect. That's a mistake. That should be Rudraya Namaha in the dative case. Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Indraya Namaha. Okay, so he's given it like that. So that can be done, but better if you're going to follow this Bodhayana system of putting the lines that you just that you learn the proper Vedic mantras for each line to draw each line. Now, if you want to avoid all of that, you can do it the Apastamba way, which I said is first of all you're sitting in front of the fire pit and you are facing east. You're in the west on your seat facing east, right? So, or whichever direction you designate as being east, because sometimes you can't actually sit in facing the direct east, right? So you designate a direction as east. You're facing east, okay? So you're going to, first of all, the first line you're going to do is the one here, which is marked 2. Then you're going to do 1. Then you're going to do 3, and then you're going to do a 5, and you're going to do 4, and then you're going to do 6. Okay, and that's the Apastamba way. And if you do it the Apastamba way in the Apastamba order, you don't have to, according to Apastamba Rishi, you don't have to chant any mantras. There's no mantras to chant for that. For Apastamba Rekha Kriya, there's no mantras. So that makes it a lot easier for people to start. And also Apastamba is more common. Is a more common way of performing Krishna Yajurveda samskaras. Okay. So now with the thumb and index finger of the right hand, take a pinch of earth from the center. You can take some earth from the center or from the middle of the kunda and cast it to the southwest. So you're facing east, you're sitting in the west, right? And the southwest is going to be over on your right-hand side. So you're going to take some pinch of earth and you take it out and cast it to the southwest. Okay, so then abhukshana. Abhukshana means you're going to sprinkle water. You just made holy water in Punyavachanam, so you're going to sprinkle the kunda or the standila, either the mound, the flat mound that you're going to do the fire on, or the deep kunda, which is a step pyramid, made of bricks or copper, either an inverted, sometimes they're inverted pyramids of copper, or a copper tray, which is filled with sand or something like that. You're going to sprinkle the whole thing with water, holy water. You can take a flower and you can use that to sprinkle. Right? It doesn't say to chant any mantra. So there you go. Typical mantras for sprinkling are which we know from Sanjivandhanam. Agni Stapanam. Okay, so now we're going to establish the fire. So a few twigs are placed in the standila, right? Okay, so on the mound or in the step pyramid, in the kunda, in the fire kunda, you're going to place some twigs. You can put them, crisscross like this. Normally, you can just put some twigs in there like that to act as kindling, right? The fire is kindled using a few blocks of camphor in a copper dish. So you can ask for the lady of the house to take sacred fire from the yagshala of the house or the kitchen of the house, and they can take fire and they can bring it in on a plate, and then they can pour the fire pour the camphor, pieces of camphor on top of some other pieces of camphor with these twigs in the fire, standila, in the fire kunda, the fire pit. Okay. This is circled 3 times, circled around the fire 3 times, and then placed on top of the twigs and on the standila. Okay, he says you go around the fire 3 times and then put it on, like that. Doesn't matter. Normally people just come and they put it on, like that. Chandra, and maybe you have a stand lamp there, and you can just take some camphor and light some camphor and put it on a dish and then put it in the fire, like that. So here's a mantra from Purusha Suktam that you can chant. Chandrama manaso jadas chakso suryo jayata mukadindras chagnischa pranad vayu jayata. Right. So his mouth is Indra and Agni. Right. Is mentioned in the Indra and Agni were born from the Purusha's mouth, so the Supreme Lord's mouth. So that's why he chants that mantra there. This is not part of the normal Agni Mukam, the regular Agni Mukam, which is done according to Apastamba, but it can be done. You can chant that. Normally, what we do is we just say Om Bhurbhava Suvaha, and we put the light camphor there, and we say Agnim Stapayami or Agnim Patistapayami. Right now, here he's left a place where we can put the name of the Agni. Right, there can be different forms of Agni, and he's got different names of Agni in an appendix. If you're doing some sort of samskara, there might be a different name for Agni for that particular samskara. So he said, Om Bhurbhava Suvaha, such and such, a mukha nama Agnim stapayami. But normally people don't bother with that. They just simply say, Om Bhurbhava Suvaha, Agnim patistapayami. Right? And they establish Agni there. Water and akshata are sprinkled on the dish which was used to bring the fire. So this is what I said. If you sent the lady of the house off to the kitchen to bring a flaming piece of camphor from the stove, right, to put in the fire, then you would take some akshata and water and sprinkle it on the dish after she puts it in the fire. Like that. So now Agni Prajwalyam is the next thing. Agni Prajwalyam means to fan, means to inflame the fire. The fire has to be fed with some small twigs, some kindling, right? So it doesn't go out. If the wood has already been piled up, then one can blow on the fire using a tube. Okay, so people sometimes they blow through the Devatirtha of the Agni Tirtha and the Devatirtha of the right hand. Otherwise, they have bamboo or copper pipes that they blow through. But directly, you shouldn't blow on the fire. You might get some spit on the fire, which is not correct. So you should blow through a pipe, or blow through your hand, or some people have a fan, either a palm fan or some other type of fan. Just fan the flames until you get some nice flames, and the fire will not go out. So now Paristaranam. Paristaranam means to lay darba grass or kusha grass around the fire. So darba grass bound in bunches of 3 or 5 is placed around the fire. Right? He's got a footnote here, and his footnote says darba grass can be reused perpetually. Actually, there are rules about using darba grass and how long you can use darba grass, but they're very complex rules, and so we won't go into them here. But for all intensive purposes, he says you can just use kusha grass as long as you like that. Now he's saying bunches of 3 or 5. In actual fact, according to Apastamba and I believe also Bodhayana, you're supposed to put 16 full lengths of kusha grass on each side of the fire, like that. So, and there's a specific order that you're supposed to lay them down in. He hasn't mentioned any of that. Here he says in the east with the points facing north, in the south with the in the east, which is opposite you, where you're sitting, with the points pointing north. In the south, right, with the points facing east, right? In the west, with the points facing north, and in the north, with the points facing east. Now that's correct for if you're going to perform a Purva Karya, if you're going to perform a Purva Prayoga, a Samskara, nothing to do with the ancestors. If you're doing something to do with the ancestors, the Kusha grass that's on the west and the east should be, the point should be facing south, and the other tips, I believe, face west. So it's the exact opposite if you're doing it for the ancestors or if you're doing it for the devas, right? So and also it depends on how you lay down the kusha grass and which direction kusha grass lays on top of which other direction, and it's a little bit complicated. But anyway, just lay it around for right now, and so we can go on. So that's just laying it around like that. Now, all these actions of Agni Mukham, there are also directions of how to do this, which are sometimes spoken out loud. The directions are sometimes spoken out loud by the priest doing them, right? When the priests learn how to do them, they learn the directions and they learn. So they'll say, they might say a mantra in Sanskrit, which means I'm laying down the kusha grass on the east side, on the west side, or whatever it is, like that. So that, but there's no actual Vedic mantras or anything for doing these things. Patrasadhanam, in the north of the fire, on a layer of kusha grass, arrange in pairs the vessels to be used. Okay, so in Vedic sacrifice, you have different types of Agni Mukham. You have an Agni Mukham, which is with 6 vessels that you use, and one with 4 vessels that you use. And so it just depends. So here, we'll see what particular vessels he's going to use. But what we do normally with the vessels is that we put kusha grass around the fire. Now we're going to take some more kusha grass and we're going to lay that kusha grass also with the roots to the west and the tips to the east on the north side of the fire, parallel to the kusha grass, which we just laid around the fire, the north side of the fire. So on that, and that's going to be, usually that's 12 pieces of kusha grass. It doesn't mention it here. 12 pieces of kusha grass, and they're separated a little bit, 6 and 6. So there's a little bit in between them. So then what you do is you take 2 vessels at a time, 2 things at a time in your 2 hands, and place them upside down from west to east in this order sitting on that kusha grass bed. Okay, so the offering spoons, that's the darbi and the ita darbi, otherwise known as the shruva and the shrup, the small and the large spoons, right? Upside down. Now, the normal system, I don't know about Bodhayana because I'm not an expert in Bodhayana, but the Apastamba system, the normal system is that those spoons are not paired. One spoon is on one end, one spoon is on the other end. But here he's just saying the offering spoons. So take the offering spoons, right, upside down and put them there. Then he says Ajastali and Prokshani Patra. So Ajastali is the container that you're going to put ghee in, that you're going to offer ghee out of. And the Prokshani Patra is a container which is going to contain water for sprinkling, for purifying things. Take those and put those upside down next to the offering spoons. The next thing is take the Pranita Patra and a bunch of fuel, right? So this is a six ingredient thing that we're putting here. Six different things that we're putting on these bed of kusha grass. So the Pranita Patra and a bunch of fuel. A bunch of fuel should be 12, he says here 12 sticks. Usually it's 20 sticks or 20 sticks, which are usually one aratni. They're like one hasta, one small span of the hand. I don't know what they call it, cubit or whatever it's called, in length. And there's usually 20 or 21 of them. And they're tied up with a string, which is also made of kusha grass. Okay. So you take those, the Pranita Patra, which is another container, metal container, it's going to have water inside it, and you put those upside down on the eastern side of this northern bed of kusha grass next to the fire. Okay, so then the next thing you do is called Brahma Varnam. Brahma Varnam is that you are going to either designate a priest to be Brahma, to take the place of Brahma, to be the Brahma priest, the main priest in the sacrifice, or you're going to take a kurcha, which is again a kushagrass, couple of kushagrass blades tied with a Brahma Granthi, a special sacred knot, and keep it. And normally you'll be keeping it on. You might keep it on one of the steps of the pyramid, or you might keep it on the ground someplace to the south, facing north. So you have a Brahmana sitting to the south of the fire, facing north, or and he represents Brahma. Or you can also have Brahma. You can invoke Brahma in some kushagrass and keep him on that there. It can be on one of the steps of the pyramid, step pyramid. So the Yajna. So on a seat to the south of the fire, a Brahmin priest is asked to be seated. So you say this: Aspin Homa Karmani Brahmanam Tom Vrine. Will you be my, right? And he assents, and he says, I'll do that. Oh, if no Brahmin priest is available, then a kurcha, a blade of darba, a bunch of darba, or a flower is placed on the seat, and Brahma is invoked. Om Kam Brahmane Namaha, Sakala Radhane Svarchitam. Sakala Radhane Svarchitam. When you do that, that's actually offering him puja. So you take some akshata and throw it on the place where you invoked him. Okay, so then the next thing is Prokshani Patra Sadhanam. So establishing the patra, the patra, the vessel for sprinkling. The Prokshani Patra, the vessel for sprinkling, is filled with water. 2 pieces of darba grass with their points intact. Intact is one word, not 2 words here. Intact, and about a span in length. A span in length from the middle finger to the thumb. Span in length are used to purify the water. This water is then poured into the pranita patra and then refilled. Okay, so there's a lot more to doing that than just what he's mentioned here. So he's just saying, take some kusha grass and purify the water with the kusha grass. But actually, you make a Brahma Granthi in the kusha grass, and you're going to do it for you. You're going to hold it in the tips of between the thumb and the ring finger of each hand, and you're going to move it through the water to purify the water in the pranita patra, right? I'm sorry, in the Prokshani Patra, and then you're going to fill the Pranita Patra with that water, and then you're going to refill the Prokshani Patra. So that's a very, very simple way of doing it. Pranita Patra Varuna Mavahi. So the Varuna is going to be invoked in the Pranita Patra, and I believe is going to be placed, that vessel, which has got water in it now, purified water in it, that was just purified in the Prokshani Patra, right, is going to be placed in the east, facing west, and you're going to offer some akshata, and flower petals or a flower is placed in the Pranita Patra, and Varuna is invoked into it and worship. Say Om Varunaya Namaha, and you can also say this like Sakala Radhane Svarchitam, I worship you, yeah, like that. And I'm not sure, but I believe there should be some a kurcha, a kusha grass with a pavitra ring, a pavitra knot in it, Brahma Granthi in it, with two darbas sitting on top of the Pranita Patra. Not sure, but we have to look it up. So then, Aja Samskara. We're going to now purify the ghee. So we have ghee in a separate container. We're going to pour it into that container that we have on the bed of kusha grass to the north. So the ghee is purified in the following manner. First, see if there's anything impure in it. A pavitri, which is made of 2, which means a ring usually, or it could just be 2 kusha grass blades, one span length, like tied in a Brahma Granthi in the middle, right? Is passed through it while holding it with the thumb and ring finger of both hands. So you do that 3 times, yeah, and then the knot is released and the pavitri is thrown in the fire, right? Actually, you should sprinkle it with water from the Prokshani Patra first, and then you should place it in the fire with your right hand. And the tips, when you undo it, the tips of the kusha grass should be facing east when you throw it in the fire. and I'm not sure, but there's a certain part of the fire that you're supposed to throw it in, but we can look that up. So he's giving a very simple method here. So, okay, so then a coal or a burning stick is removed from the fire, and normally it's more than one, maybe two coals are taken out, and they're put and they're placed in the southeast. I would take an exception to this. I think you're going to place them you're going to place the coals in the northwest, in my opinion. Like that. He says to place in the southeast. The southeast is a long way away from you, right? It's on your right side, but it's up further. So I doubt this southeast. I think it should be northwest. Okay, the Ajastali or the ghee vessel is then placed upon them. Oh, by the way, all these 6 vessels when they're all out laying on the kushagas before you, the spoons and the Pakshini Patra, the Pranita Patra, the bundle of sticks and the Ajastali, right? They are normally sprinkled with Pakshini water, right? And they're also touched with a pavitri, with your hand and the pavitri, a couple of kushgrass blades tied in a brahmagranthi. Okay, so then that all happens before the aja or the ghee. Okay, so what does it say? Okay, so take the ajastali, is placed thereupon. So you take first of all, you're going to take the ghee vessel, put it in front of you. In front of you, there should be 6 shorter, maybe long, but 6 kushagrass stalks, and that with the tips, the roots facing south, the tips facing north. In front of you, between you and the pit. That's next to, between you and the 16 kushagrasses which you laid around the pit to the west of the pit, right? So there should be another 6 there, and you should take the ajastali from where it is sitting in the north, pick it up, put it in front of you, pour the ghee into it. After pouring the ghee into it, then you have to take it. You have to take with some tongs, or in some way you take some hot coals from the fire, and you take it out to the northwest, I think, in my opinion, not southeast, and place it there, either on the top or step of the step pyramid, or on a brick next to the Homa Kunda somewhere. You place it, right? So you don't want to burn the floor or whatever it is. So, and then you take the ajastali, the ghee container which is in front of you, pick it up and place it next to that, so that the heat from the coals can heat up the ghee. Then you take a blade of burning kusha grass, right, and wave it around it clockwise like that, and put the kusha grass in the fire to purify it. The aja is then purified by showing the Denu mudra, which is the Kalsada mudra over it. But I would say that would be a very agamic or pancharatric or tantric thing to do. In the actual Vedic Agni Mukham, you don't do that. What you do instead of that is that you're going to do Utpurya also you're going to make a pavitri of 2 kushagrass blades, hold it with the thumb and ring finger, and you're going to pass it through the ghee. And this is done after this is done perhaps not sure before or after before probably you put the ghee on the heat, and then the aja or the ghee is then purified by showing Denwood. The coals are then returned to the fire. If darba is not available, if there's no kusha grass, then you can show 5 purificatory mudras, which he doesn't explain. Right, so there may be some other mudras which you can use to purify it, but it's only if you're doing a tantric ritual or an agamic ritual, and not if you're doing a Vedic samskara. If you're doing a Vedic samskara, then you should do the Vedic Agni Mukham. This seems like a little bit of a mixture of tantric and Vedic and tantric Agni Mukham. Okay, the Shruk Shruvao samskara, the Shruk and the Shruva. So the Shruk is the large spoon, the big ladle, and the Shruva is the small spoon. And you're going to take them and you're going to show them to the fire. So you can either put them in the right hand or show them both to the fire like that, or you can put them in both hands and show them upside down over the fire and heat them up a little bit. And you can do that a couple of times. And then you're going to wipe them down with a bunch of crucigrass grass. A bunch of crucigrass grass, which doesn't have any knots in it, which you're taking from to do all these things, is called a mushti. And so you have this mushti of crucigrass grass, which we're using in the Punya Vachanam also to touch the pot when you're chanting the Punya mantras. So anybody who doesn't know what all of this looks like, there are plenty of videos where you can see people doing these ceremonies like that. So they can just get in touch with me and I can show them some videos like that. So then you wipe down the shukshruva, which have been heated up over the fire, and with the kusha grass, there are a bunch of kusha grass. So that usually you touch the tips of the spoons, you touch the roots of the spoon, then you touch the middle of the kusha grass to the middle of the spoons, and you wipe them like that, right? And then you sprinkle them, and then you wipe them again with the kusha grass again. So from the Prakshni Patra speaking. So here he hasn't mentioned that. So I'll then sprinkle with water and then place to the right. He says place to your right, which means to the south. Or you can just place them, normally the shruva would be on your right-hand side and the shruva would be on your left-hand side. Or if you have an assistant priest, right, sitting to the north of the fire, because you've got Brahma sitting to the south of the fire, that person could help you with the shruva, the big thing. So then we have paridi paridadanam. Paridis are pieces of wood, longer pieces of wood. 4 pieces of wood, 1 cubit in length, are placed around the fire, right? So in actual fact, he says there are 4 pieces of wood which are placed around the fire. You can place them on one of the tiers, maybe the bottom tier of the 3-tiered step pyramid, or you could just place them around the fire in between the paristaranam, kusha grass, and the fire itself, like that. So normally you place it in the west, in the west, in the north, and in the south, right? But you don't place it on the eastern side. And then there are 2 other sticks which you stick in the fire, sticking up vertically in the south. These have special names. Sometimes at the end they're burned. Sometimes they're not burned at the end, depending on whether it's a purvakarya or aprakarya. There's some rules about these things, and it also differs according to the different rishis and the different systems of the different Vedas, branches of the Vedas. So we'll have to look up that. So anyway, he says just place 4 pieces of wood around the fire. That's very simple, but I would say just do 3 and leave the east open. So parisinchanam or parisechanam, right, is sprinkling water, and you can use a pavitri or a darba or a kusha kurcha to sprinkle the water around the fire, or he's saying here just use a flower, dip a flower in the Prakshni Patra and say from in the south. So where you're sitting in the west, you're facing east. So on your right hand side is the south. So from west to east, you sprinkle Omaritanyumanya Swam, right? Take another dip in the Prakshni Patra, the flower again, or the kurcha, right? In the west, where you're sitting in front of you, you're going to sprinkle from south to north, right? Om Anumate Numanya Swam, right? Then in the north, from the west to the east, you're going to sprinkle again. Saraswati Numanya Swam, right? And then you're going to sprinkle around the whole pit, around the whole fire, by taking some water in the kurcha or the flower, and you're going to start in the northeast, and you're going to you could start in the northeast. I think you start in the northeast, or you can start maybe in the northwest, and in the northwest and go, or in the east and go completely around. Start in the northwest and go completely around, circular, till you come back to yourself. Deva Savita Prasuva, right? And sprinkle all around. So then we have Agni Dhyanam. Then you're supposed to meditate on Agni, right? So he says here to use the Agni Bija mantra, and this would not be done in a Vedic Agni Mukam. Okay, this is for Tantric or Agni Mukam, right? So use the Bija mantra for Agni is Ram, right? Not Ram, but Ram. Short A, Ram. So the Ram Bija, or the seed mantra, is used to visualize Agni as seated within your heart. Perform the following nyasas. Nyasa means touching different parts of the heart. So touching the heart, Om Ram Hridaya Namaha, Om Reem Sirase Swaha, Om Room Shikaya Vasate, Om Rayam Kavachaya Hum, Om Raum Netratrayaya, or it could be Om Raum Netrabhyam. It could be Netrabhyam, 2 eyes or 3 eyes, Netratrayaya, 3 eyes, Vaushate. Then clap the hands or strike the hands with the Tarjani and the Madhyama, the index and the middle finger on the palm of the left hand 3 times, right? Almost Om Raha Astraya Pate, right? And then snap the fingers around the head, saying Om Bhurvavasvaha, Om Iti Digbandaha, and close the directions around you, right? So then there is a meditation on Agni. So there's a couple of mantras here to meditate on Agni. Mesha Rudam Chavakrangam Jata Vedam Samanvayam Visirsham Saptahastam Tripadam Saptajipakam Varadam Shaktipanim Cha Bibranam Shukshravau Tata Abhiti Dam Charmadaram Vame Jajam Daram Kare. Okay, and there's a Vedic mantra here, which you have to learn with the swaras, so you can't learn from this video. So you need to get in touch with me and get a proper audio of somebody chanting this correctly. Chatvari Shringa Prayatos Syapada Dveshilshe Saptahastayosya Krida Bhado Vishabo Rora Viti Maho Devo Martyadhum Abhivesha Esha Hi Deva Padisho Nu Sarva Purohi Jata Sa Ugarbeyantaha Sa Vijayamanasa Janisyamana Pratyanmuka Tistati Vishpato Mukaha. Hey Agni, Pran Muko Deva, Mama Bimako Baba. This last line is classical Sanskrit, so that there's no swaras with it. So Hey Agni means, oh Agni, right? Pran Muko Deva, Mama Abhimuko Baba. So please face me. Face me and be, please be seated in the east, right? So you're in the west facing east, the fire is right in front of you, so he's in the east, right? And please be well disposed to me and face me like that. He's probably going to face you because Varuna, the water, is on the eastern side of the kunda. So he's not going to go that way. He's going to not face the waters. He's going to face towards you, but you want to pray to him to face you. Offer akshata in the 8 directions. Akshata is, again, the rice with the turmeric. Offer it in the 8 directions around the kund, starting with the east, right? So starting with the east and going clockwise around with the 8 directions. Om Agni Namaha, Om Jadaveda Se Namaha, Om Sahoja Se Namaha, Om Ajir Pava Bhave Namaha, Om Vaishvaranaya Namaha, Om Narya Pase Namaha, Om Pankti Raja Se Namaha, Om Visarpine Namaha, Om Yajna Purushaya Namaha, Om Atmane Namaha. So when you get to Om Shri Yajna Purushaya Namaha, you put some in the fire and then you put some on your head, Om Atmane Namaha, for yourself, like that. Now, some people say that you can do this with Akshata. Agni Namaha, Jadaveda Se Namaha, Sahoja Se Namaha, Ajir Pavaya Namaha, Vaishvaranaya Namaha, Naripa Se Namaha, Pankti Raj Se Namaha. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? Those 8 directions around the kunda with Akshata, rice with turmeric. But the Yajna Purushaya, some people say, should be with only pure rice with no Akshata, with no turmeric on it, white rice. So Yajna Purushaya Namaha, Atmane Namaha. And then on the people who have come to observe the ceremony, you can throw some akshata and bless them. Om Sarvebhyas Sri Vaishnavebhyo Namaha on the Vaishnavas, and Sarvebhyo Brahmanebhyo Namaha on the Brahmins. And then, okay, so that is what we call. Then we have Alankaram. Alankaram, we're going to worship the regents of the space situated around the fire, right? The Dikpals, they're called Dikpatis or Dikpals, right? Protectors of the directions, right? Around the fire by placing flowers in the respectful directions. This can also be done by Akshata. Om Indraya Namaha. Again, you're starting with the east, going southeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, south, northwest, north, northeast in a clockwise direction. Om Indraya Namaha, Om Agni Namaha, Om Nirmaya Namaha, Om Naritaya Namaha. Again, Naritaya Namaha, the R The first R does not have a dot under it. It's a consonant. So Om Nir Ritaye Namaha, Om Varunaya Namaha, Om Vaive Namaha, Om Somaya Namaha, Om Ishanaya Namaha. Okay. Now Samita Danam, the Yajamana, who is the sponsor of the puja, maybe yourself or maybe somebody else, if you're doing puja on behalf of some or Homa on behalf of somebody else, stands and faces the Brahman, right? The Brahman, meaning the Brahma priest, or it could be the priest who's going to perform the sacrifice, and says the following, and then places the bundle of fuel upon the fire. Now, normally, as part of that bundle of fire, which was sitting with the other 5 things to the north of the fire on those 12 kusha grasses that are slightly separated 6 and 6 as a bed for those things to sit on. When we're doing Shatpatra Agni-mukha, not Chapatra Agni-mukha, which is done for. When you're doing 4 things, it's only done for Vichina Agni Sandhanam. It's a Vedic ritual of reestablishing the household fire. Okay, but if in any other ritual, it's 6. There's 6 things which we just saw, right? So the bundle of sticks, which is bound up by kusha grass and knotted like that, it has to be sprinkled. It has to be unknotted like that. So here he's saying that the Yajamana stands and faces the Brahman saying the following, and then places the bundle of fuel on the fire, or at least 3 samits, three sticks. Asmin Homa Karmani Brahmam Idmam Adasye. Right? Ajatsva, right? So there's a Vachana and the Prativachana. The Yajamana is going to say Asmin Homa Karmani Brahman Idma Adase. And the Brahman is going to say, so go ahead and do that, offer sacrifice, and he's going to do it. So the next thing is we're going to do what's called agara. Silently meditating on Prajapati, offer a stream of ghee, and this should be a stream of ghee, right? From the northeast, right? From the northeast to the southwest, right? So some people in different ceremonies they ladle out 4. Sometimes they ladle out 4 shruvas, 4 small spoons into the large shruk, and they use that to make a continuous stream of ghee, right? And the first stream of ghee is going to go from the northeast to it should be from the northwest. This is a mistake here. It says here northeast, from the northwest to the southeast. Okay, so that's the northeast corner is on your left-hand side. So on your left-hand side, and you pour it. So you can either do it with the shruva, or better to do it with the shruk with more ghee in it, so there can be a continuous flow of ghee. So then you pour the continuous flow of ghee, holding the shruk in the right hand, and you're going to pour it from the northwest to the southeast, crossing the fire like that. And you're gonna say Om Prajapati Swaha Prajapati Namama. Now he hasn't put any swara markings in here, but usually there's a dirgha swarita on the swaha. When you say swaha, you offer ghee or some oblation into a fire, right? And there's usually a dirgha swarita on it, so it's said swaha. So this is the vachana, the first part, and then you offer the ghee into the fire. Om Prajapati Swaha, right? And at the end you say the prativachana, or the reply, Prajapati Idam Namama, right? So we hear some people like in the Mayapur group, they say Idam Prajapati Idam Namama, but there's no reason to say the extra Idam. It's not wrong, but people usually say only the name of the devata which is being offered to, and then Idam Namama. It's for that person and not for me. So the second stream is from the southwest, which is on your right-hand side, to the northeast, like that. And that is for Indra. So meditating on Indra, so Prajapati, Brahma's a Prajapati, and Indra's. So Indra, offering to Indra, you say, Om Indraya Swaha Indraya Namama, right? From southwest to northeast. Then the Ajabhagam. Ajabhagam means you're going to offer ghee. Going to offer ghee, and there are 2 oblations to offer, one to Agni and the other to Soma. Exactly where these are going to go in the fire or how they're going to go in the fire. We have to look that up. There's probably different things, but anyway, say Om Agnaye Swaha Agni Dannamama to Agni, and to Soma Om Somaya Swaha Somaya Dannamama. Right after that's finished, then we do Vyariti Homa. Yaridi Homa is using the Vyahritis. The Vyahritis we know from Pranayama, or we know from Sandhyavandanam, or we know from the Gayatri Mantra. There are sometimes 3 Vyahritis, sometimes 7 Vyahritis. The Vyahritis are special words which represent different chakras in the body or different levels in the universe. Right? Bhava Suvaha. In North India or not in Krishna Yajurveda, outside of Krishna Yajurveda, people say Sva. In Krishna Yajurveda, the Sva is pronounced Suvaha. Right? So here he's put Suvaha. Right? So that's because we're doing things according to Krishna Yajurveda. So Om Bhu Swaha Agni Dannamama Om Bhuva Swaha Vaidyanamama. That should have an M here on the end of there's a spelling mistake here. And then Om Subhaswaha Surya Idannamama, right? This is called Vyariti Homa, or it's also called Mahavyariti Homa, right? We could also use the other Vyaritis. The 7 Vyaritis are Bhur, Bhava, Subha, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyam. These are all Vyaritis. But here we just use Bhur, Bhava, Subha, and then we put them all together. First separately, and then Bhurvava Suvaha Swaha Prajapati Dannamama. But before we say that one, we're going to say some other mantras here. So this Yaridi Mantra is done. Yaridi Mantras are usually done. Mahavyariti Homa is done usually as a break between different sets of oblations. So there were different sets of oblations in any fire, right? And in between each set of oblations, like you might do Narasimha mantras, then you're doing Sudarsana mantras, then you're doing Varuna mantras, then you're doing Dhanvantari mantras, and in between each one, or in between each mantra, set of mantras offered in the fire, you're going to say Mahavyariti Homa. It acts as a demarcation between the different parts of the Homa. So Om Bhu Swaha, Om Bhuva Swaha, Om Subha Swaha, Om Bhurvava Subha Swaha. It can be as simple like that. Or you can do it properly. You can say Om Bhur Swaha, Agni Dannamama, Om Bhuva Swaha, Vaidyanamama, Om Subha Swaha, Surya Dannamama. Then you say Asman Kusmanda Homam. Okay, so here he's put Kusmanda Homa. Kusmanda Homa is a specific type of Homa for Praia Chitta, for some, if you did some sin or something like that, if you feel like you need to purify yourself, then you do what's called Kusmanda Homa, right? So here we would take this word Kusmanda out of here and put a blank in here, and then whatever particular Homa you're doing, you would put the name of that Homa in there. So Asmin Amukha Homa Karmani Sankalpa Prabrita Etat Shana Hariyantam Madhye Sambhavita Samasta Dosa Praischittartam Sarva Praischittartam Hoshyami. It's almost like a Sankalpa here, that I'm going to do one more oblation after these 3 oblations, Bhurvavasavaha. I'm going to do one more for Praischita. Om Bhurvavasavaha Swaha. Right? So in my experience, when people are doing Pancharatric Mahavyariti Homa, they just simply it's as easy as Om Bhu Swaha, Om Bhuva Swaha, Om Suva Swaha, Om Bhurvava Suva Swaha, and then get on with the next set of mantras like that, because there may be a lot of different oblations that you have to perform, and this is just to mark off the different sections of the Homa. So continuing on after we do the Mahavyariti Homa, which includes the Praischita Homa, the next thing that we can do is it says here, prepare Havis as for Stalipaka and offer it to the Lord who is invoked in the fire. Okay, so now Havis means cooked rice, but it's cooked, today people just go to the kitchen and they boil some rice and they just cook some rice in water. Okay, but the actual, he says here, prepare Havis as for Stalipaka. Stalipaka is a Shrauta sacrifice which a Grihastha has to do. A Grihastha has to keep the sacred fire from his wedding, right? He has to keep that going for his whole life, and at the end of his life, right, he will be burned, he will be cremated in the same fire. The Antyeshti is performed in that same fire. That is called Smarta Agni, and he has to do a small sacrifice in the morning and in the evening along with his wife. His wife has to also be present. In the morning and in the evening every day. That small sacrifice is called Upasana Homa. For brahmacharis, there's another one which is called Samhita Dana, where they just put sticks in the fire, right? They do that morning and evening. But for grihastas, they do the Upasana Homa. So the Upasana Homa, you just put a little bit of rice in certain places and with certain mantras to the fire, and then you cover the fire up again with ash, and you keep the fire, or you put a cow dung ball in the fire, and that becomes a hot coal, and you keep this in either you have a yagshala, a proper yagshala, where you keep it in a kunda, the garhapatya kunda, which is a round kunda, in the sacrificial fire, right, or you just have a clay pot, a big clay pot or a big clay pot full of ash, in which you keep the fire, and you uncover the hot coal in the morning, and then cover it up again, uncover it in the evening. Now, the thing is, doing this every day, twice a day, the fire becomes a little weak after some time. So every 2 weeks, instead of Upasana Homa, once every 2 weeks, you have to do the Stalipaka. The Stalipaka ceremony involves offering more rice, but you have to feed the fire to make the fire strong. And you have to cook that rice, whereas the rice that you offer in the Upasana is not uncooked, you just offer it in. So the way to do the Stalipaka is you have to have a metal vessel, and you have to put water and rice in that, and you have to cook it over the sacrificial fire. So what he's saying here is that you have to cook havis, or cooked rice, all over the sacrificial fire, as you would in Stalipaka. I'm not going to teach here. I'm not going to talk more here about Upasana or Stalipaka or any other Shraddha sacrifice. But normally what people would do is they would these days people would just get some cooked rice. Just go get some cooked rice and offer it to the Lord who is invoked in the fire. So you have to offer it in the fire. He hasn't said exactly how to do that, but it seems like then he says underneath that there's a square, there's a rectangle here, and in the middle of the rectangle it says Pradhana Homa. So Pradhana Homa means the main part of the fire sacrifice. So the previous part is the Agni Mukham, or the Kushandikam, where he's establishing the sacrificial fires. The preliminaries, are up until this point, these preliminaries are the same. Then we do whatever sacrifice, whatever samskara, whatever type of homa that we want to do. And then after we've finished that different homa, the main section of the homa, then we have another section which ends the homa. So we have a beginning which is the same, and we have an ending which is the same. The beginning is called Purvangam, before activities for starting out, and the other one is called Uttarangam, the second half, or the ending activities. So now we start the second half, the Uttarangam. So we have a prayer here. It's a prayer to Prajapati, and at the end of it, they say Swaha and offer to Prajapati, and they say Prajapati in Idan Namama. Then again, they have the like the Mahavyarti Homa, Om Bhuswaha, Agni Idan Namama, Om Bhuvaswaha, Vaiva Idan Namama, Om Suvaswaha, Surya Idan Namama. All of these Vedic mantras you should learn by listening to an audio of a Veda Pati chanting them correctly, according to the particular Veda that you follow. In this case, these should be in Krishna Yajurveda. But in case somebody is following a different Veda, they can find the equivalent mantras in their Veda. Or if not, they can use, one from Rig Veda or some other Veda. So here we have another one to Agni. So another mantra to Agni, ending in Swaha. Right? He apparently here he didn't put the first up here. He put Dirgha Swarita on the Swaha. Normally we put a Dirgha Swarita. We say Swaha when we offer into the fire. Here he hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. That should be done. Agni swistikute inanamama, right? So that's to Agni. And then we have the paridi pariharanam. Pariharanam means to get rid of. But in this case, paridis are those three, or we could say five, because there might be two others. He has mentioned only three paridis. Paridis are these pieces of wood which are on maybe the second tier of the pyramid-shaped Homa Kunda, or they're sitting inside the kusha grass around the kunda, like that. They're called paridis, like that. They're three. One of them is on the west side, in between you and the fire. The other two are on the north and south side, leaving the east side open, because the Pranitapatra is there in which Varuna is invoked, and Varuna is facing the fire, and therefore Agni is turned around facing you. Okay, so offer the paridis into the fire. Now, sometimes they're offered into the fire, sometimes they're not offered into the fire. I think have to do some more research on this, but during perhaps when it's an apara karma to do with the ancestors, or some scars having to do with the ancestors, like a shraddha, then they may not be offered in the fire. I don't know, but we'll have to check that out. I may be wrong about that. So we take the paridis, right? Take the middle one first, followed by he says three others because he said to put four around, but normally we put three around, and then we have two others like that sticking in the ground, sticking up instead of laying flat on the northeast and the southeast corner. Okay, so he says take the one in front of you first, right? And dip one end in ghee and put it in the fire. And then he says take the others. So take the north one, dip it, put it in, take the south one, put it in, like that. If there are others in the northeast and the southeast, then you have to take those. And you can do it in a clockwise manner. Okay, so then Samsrava Homa, fill the shruva with ghee and cover with the shruk. I think what he means is fill the shruk, because the shruk is the big one, is the big ladle, cover by the shruva, and pour a continuous stream of ghee. So you're filling up the big, take ghee from the ajapatra, which is the container of ghee, with the shruva, which is the small one, and put it in the shruk and fill up the shruk, and then simply say swaha vasubhyo rudrebhyo adityebhya samasrava bhargebhya idanna mama, right? And then again, the fourth oblation of the Yaridi Homa is said down here. Om Bhurbhava Suva Swaha. Again, he didn't put in the Dirgha Swarita marking here for the tone. Prajapati Namama. Okay, so then the next thing is called Chitta. In Chitta Homa, here I think I'm not sure if he's given Jayati Homa. We'll see as we go along. I haven't seen this for a while. So, but normally Chitta Homa is called a Jayati Homa, and there's a specific way of doing it. But here he's just said we're going to do Chitta now, which means atonement for any mistakes that we made in the whole sacrifice. So first of all, for the Chitta, he's going to do a sankalpa. You do a sankalpa, again, you hold your hand together over the right knee and you say your hands together, right? And say Om Purvoktam Guna Visheshana Vishishtayam Asyam Shubhatito Bhagavadagyaya Bhavitkankarya Rupena Asmin, and whatever the name of the Homa or the type of fire that you're doing, say Sudarshana Homa Karmani, for example. Avigyata Prayaschita Adini Karishye Avigyata, for any unknown mistakes that I performed, right, in this karma, I'm going to do the Prayaschita, I'm going to do the atonement. So here we have some more Veda mantras to be chanted. It looks like, I'm not sure where this is from, we can look it up. Anagyatam So it goes on, and you can look up the Vader Mantra. It comes from Taittiriya Brahmana 3.7.11.5. So you go look that up. Did he mention where all these came from? He didn't mention all. Here we go. This one is from Vajrasanaya Samhita, which is Shukla Yajurveda 10.20. And then we have, in some cases, he's mentioned the place where it comes from. In some places, he hasn't. Okay. So down here, he mentions it comes from Taittiriya Brahmana 3.7.11.5. And you say Swaha Agni Namama, right? And then you have the next one, which comes from also from the same place. And you say Swaha Agni Namama, and then you have the next one, which comes from the Rig Veda 10.2.5a, and you say Swaha, and then you again say Agni Namama. So you say all those three, and then again Mahavyarati Homa, Ombu Swaha, Ombu Agni Namama, Ombu Swaha, Vaida Namama, Om Swaha, Suryai Namama, and then another Sankalpa, Asmin Homa Karmani, Madhye, Sambhavita, Samasta Dosha Praishchitatam, Sarva Praishchitalam Hoshyami, right? And you say Om Bhurbhava Subha Swaha Prajapati Namama. Again, he didn't put in the Dirghaswarita here, but you have to say it like that. Then Om Shri Vishnave Swaha Vishnave Paramapane Namama. Om Rudraya Pate Pasupate Swaha Rudraya Pasupate Namama. Okay, so these are the Prayaschita. These are all the oblations for Prayaschita. So then the next thing after Prayaschita is a thing called Purna Huti, Purna Ahuti. Ahuti means offering into the fire. When you offer something into the fire, usually just ghee, it could be also grains as well as the ghee. So Purna means the one that makes complete. Usually we think of this as the, he says here, he translates it as final offering. There may be also some other offerings that come after it. So I wouldn't translate it as a final offering, but I would, Purna, the word Purna means completion. The offering for completion, let's say. Okay, so again, we do a Sankalpa. Om Purvoktam Guru Visheshana Vishishtayam Asyam Shubhatikao Vaguragya Vagurkinkari Rupena Asmin, whatever Amukha, whatever Homa that we're doing, for example, Sudarshana Homa. Sudarshana Homa Karmanaha Sampurna Phala Praptyartam. And then you say, and then he says, in the fire named such and such. So whatever fire, if you named the fire when you did and you according to a specific name, if you invoked the fire of a specific name, then you mentioned that name here. So for a wedding or something, Yojika Namagnau Purna Hutim Hoshyami. And then Taranantaram, and also afterwards, Sangata Siddhyartam Vasodharam Hoshyami. Vasodharam is another type of offering which comes after this, which is going to be a continuous stream of ghee. Okay? All right. And he doesn't say, okay, so that's a Sankalpa. Okay, so now we have again, this is a Punahuti mantra. Purnahutim utam jahoti sarvam vaipurnahutihi evam apnoti ato yam vaipurnahutihi asyam eva pratitistati swaha agnaye vaushat. Okay, here he says vaushat. It may be that some prayogas, some procedures say Agni Namama, like that. Agni Namama. We can also say that. And then here is the Vasodhara Homa, which we mentioned in the Sankalpa already. So we don't have to do a separate Sankalpa for it. Vasodhara is offering a continuous stream of ghee into the middle of the Homa, like that. Om Saptate Agne Samida Sapta Jihva Sapta Rishaya Sapta Dhamma Priyani Sapta Hotra Saptada Twa Yajanti Sapta Yonir Aprinashva Vitena Swaha Agnaye Saptavate Idam Namama. Okay. And this he's got here is coming from Krishna Yajurveda, which means the Krishna Yajurveda Samhita 1532. Okay. So after this, Pranayamaha and Parisechana. Pranayamaha means controlling the breath. Parisechana means sprinkling water around, just like we did in the beginning of the ceremony. Sometimes in between different ahutis or different offerings into the fire, we do parisechanam. And if we do it with the mantras that we started out. Aditanyumanya swa, Sarasvatanyumanya swa, right? Sarasvatanya Anumatanyumanya swa, Sarasvatanyumanya swa, Deva Savita Prasuva, right? Here it's a little bit different. You're going to say Aditanyumagaswa, Aditin Anumatin Navangasta, Sarasvatin Vanmangasta, Deva Savita Prasavi, Dihi, like that, right? So perform pranayamaha. Here he means perform pranayamaha, which means do the Vedic pranayamaha, right? Maybe if it's not a Vedic sacrifice, maybe if it's a Sudarshana Homa or something like that, you could do a different type of pranayamaha, possibly a Stakshara pranayamaha, or if you're doing some Krishna sacrifice, you could do the Kim Bij or Kamadev pranayamaha. But normally, if he says pranayamaha, he just means do not regular pranayamaha using the Dirgha Gayatri Mantra, Om Boho, Om Bhavaha, Om Suvaha, Om Maha, Om Janaham, Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tattulare, Inyam Bargodeva Siddhimahi, Dio, Yona Pajoria, Ate, Oma Pojoki, Samritam Brahma Bor, Vavasivarom. Right? So that is, and if you don't know how to do pranayamaha, then you have to learn Sanyavandanam, and in Sanyavandanam, it's, you do pranayamaha according to the way you do it in Sanyavandanam. Same thing. So, and then sprinkle water around the fire as before, using a flower dipped in the Prokshini Patra. So you remember you have this plate where you have this vessel with Prokshini water, with sacred water in it, and you're going to sprinkle it first of all from south to north in front of you, then from west to east on the south side, and then on the north side, and then all around. All right. So you're going to say those mantras. Aditin Vamagastaha, Anumatin Vamagastaha, Saraswatin Vamagastaha, Deva Savita Prasavihi. Right? These are the mantras, right? So then, valediction of Varuna from the Pranita Patra. So you have Varuna is there in the Pranita Patra, right? You invoked Varuna, and normally it's Varuna, the god of the waters, but the demigod of the waters, or it might be maybe it's going to be Pundarikaksha Varuna, which is a form of Narayana, or Vishnu that you call when you do the Punya Vachanam, when you do the Vasudeva Punya Vachanam, when you're worshiping Vishnu, maybe. Anyway, there's the Pranita Patra, which is it's a vessel with some water in it, holy water, which is on the eastern side of the kunda, which is facing you, opposite you, like that, facing the fire, and therefore the fire is facing you. So valediction means when we bid farewell to a devata, right, to God or to any of the devatas that we call to be present, we do valediction, right? Invocation of Avahanam, valediction, Visarjanam. So it's called Visarjanam. Okay. So we know also how to do that as per we know how to do that. We do that with the Gayatri Mantra with Gayatri Devi during Sandhyavandanam. Ayatu Varada Devi, we call her, and the Uttameshikare Devi, we send her away. The Gayatri Mantra, Gayatri Devi. Okay. So here it's that we say Varunaya Namaha. Sakala Radhanai Swarchitam. We can offer some rice on like some akshata to him like that. Offer puja to him by just saying that, and then we say Yatastanam Pratistapayami Sovanarte Chemaya Punaragamanaya Cha, which means you came and you were established in this place. And now that you're completely satisfied and everything like that, please be happy and go away again and come back again when we call you the next time. Okay? So what does it say? He says, O Varuna, I offer you all my homage. Please depart where you will, for glory, well-being, and the hope that you will return. Good. Okay, that's what it means. Visarjana. So the Visarjana is done whenever we do worship of a movable deity, or we do worship of a pot, or we do worship of a temporary deity made of clay, or something like that, we do the Visarjana. When we have a stone deity that is stuck to the altar with the Pita Ratanyasa, permanently installed deity, we don't need to do Visarjana. We don't do Visarjana. We permanently ask the Lord to inhabit that deity. These are two types of installations, Chala and Achala, which we can find if we look in the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 27th chapter, I think it's verse number 12 or something. Krishna talks about these two different types of installation. So now we have pouring out of water. So pouring out of water, I think what people do is they take some water and they pour it in the shrup, and they pour it around the fire. He hasn't explained exactly what water to pour and where to pour it. So we have to look in another prayoga to find that exactly out. But anyway, he gives some mantras here. Pratyam dishe deva ritvijo marjayantam. Marjantam means to marjana means to sprinkle or to pour out, like that, right? Okay. So dakshinasya. So it says here the eastern quarter, in the eastern quarter. So you're pouring in the eastern quarter. Now, Dakshinasya, you're pouring in the southern quarter. Paticham, that should be Prati. There's a spelling mistake in this mantra here. Paticham, Dishi, Griha. Anyway, the western quarter, right? And then Udicham, the northern quarter, right? And you Madhyantam, you do all these things. And then up, you sprinkle some water up for the up and down, because you've done the four cardinal directions, and you do up and down. So Udvam. And do you do Adaram here? No, not necessarily. Then he doesn't do that. And then he says, Om Vaishvarnaya Vidmahe Lalilaya Dhimahi Tanno Agni Prachodaya Ate. This is the Gayatri for Agni. And he's going to say another prayer to Agni, which comes from the Ishopanishad, which is a Shukriya Javeda Upanishad. And it's the last verse of the Ishopanishad if you are following the Kanva Shaka. If you're following the Madhyandina Shaka, it's a little bit different. It also comes in the Madhyandina Shaka, but it's not the last verse. It's the last verse in the Kanva Shaka. I think in the BBT Prabhupada's version, it's the last verse. Agnenaya Supata Raye Asman Vishvani Deva Payunani Vidvan Yudyo Jatma Juhurana Meno Bhuyishtam Te Namabhukim Videma Om Agnaye Namaha Agnim Atman Yudvasayami. So this last line is paying obeisances to Agni, and he's saying for Agni to return to his heart. Because in the beginning he's thinking that he's meditating on Agni in his heart, and he did that nyasa using Ram, Rim, Rum, Rime, Ram, right? If you look it up in the beginning, right? So he was meditating on Agni in his heart and meditating on Agni being in the fire. Now some more. So this is Udvasanam, or this is the Udvasanam or Visarjanam or the valediction of Agni. Okay. So there might also be, somebody might say, well, what about Brahma? You have a Brahma priest, or you have Lord Brahma, which you invoked in a kurcha. Yeah, you should probably do Udvasanam for or valediction for Visarjanam for Brahma also if you call Brahma. Right, so Varuna in the Pranitapatra, Brahma in the Kurcha, Brahma Kurcha, right, and Agni in the fire. You need to do valediction of all three, like that. So he hasn't mentioned Brahma here. Okay, so now afterwards we do the Pratna. The Pratna these are simple, understood mantras. They're not Vedic mantras. So Namaste Gharapatyaya, Namaste Dakshinagnaye, Nama Ahavaniyaya, Mahavedyaya Namo Namaha. Kanda Dvaya Upapadhyaya Karma Brahma Swarupinam Svarga Apavarga Rupaya Yagneshaya Namo Namaha. Yagnesha Chuta Govinda Madhavananta. This should be Madhavananta. There's a missing N here in this word. It should be Ananta. Keshava. Madhavananta Keshava. Krishna, Vishnu, Rishikesha, Vasudeva, Namosute, Mantrahinam, Griyahinam, Bhaktihinam, Janard, Bhutasana. Sometimes people say Janardana. This is called Chamashwapana Stotras or Chamashwapana Pratana. It's a prayer for forgiveness of offenses that we may have committed knowingly or unknowingly. So here we're saying if there was a problem in the mantras, in the problem in the actions, if there was no devotion, problem with bhakti, right? Then please forgive all of that, right? So mantrahinam, kriyahinam, bhaktihinam, hutashana, yad hutam tu maya deva paripuram tarastute. Praischitan yasheshani, tapak karman, kamatmakani tvai. Yani tesham asheshanam, Krishna anusmaranam param. And some people say Shri Krishna anusmaranam param. And after they say we should remember the name of Krishna, they say Shri Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. This is sometimes put last so that afterwards you can say Om Shri Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Say Krishna 3 times, or some people say 10 times even. The smartest, sometimes they say Om Shri Krishna, 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 right? By remembering the name of Krishna, we make everything all right. So again, he's given another verse after this. Yasya smritya cha namokta tapa yajna kriyadishu nyunam sampurnatam yati sadyo vande tamachutam. Om Krishna, Shri Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Okay, so this is the end of the general understanding, the general idea of how to perform the Homa. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have one question that, for example, if we want to perform Purusha Shukta Homa, we shall perform before Pradhana Homa?
Okay, so here he didn't mention doing Jayadi Homa. There are a couple of homas which are done by Vaishnavas instead of doing Jayadi Homa. Jayadi Homa may also be mentioned. Let's see. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the here's the diagram. So let's have a look at the beginning of book here. So we have different homas after this. First thing we have the Agni Mukham, which shows us basically how to do the Homa, the Purvangam and the Uttarangam, right? And then the Pradhana Homas are listed below. Mahaganapati Homa, Vaidika, Tantrika, Mahamrityunjaya Homa, Lagumrityunjaya Homa, Ayushya Homa, Avanti Homa. You know, there'll be Kusmanda Homa, Navagraha Homa, Vastu Homa. There's so many Gayatri Homa. There's so many different types of homas here. Bhagavad Gita Homa. Here we have down here Jayadi Homa. Jayadi Homa is usually for Praia and usually done by smartas like that. Sometimes Vaishnavas, they don't do it because it's a long thing. It's a lot of Vedic mantras. And sometimes instead of it, they can do the 12 names of Vishnu as a Praia Homa, or they can do more often people just do the Purusha Shukta Homa. And when they do Purusha Shukta Homa, sometimes they'll do it as a Charu Homa, means they'll not only offer ghee, but they'll also offer cooked rice into the fire, right? And ghee, like that. But you have to be careful if you do this as a Praia Homa, before you do the Purnahuti and everything like that, you have to make sure you have a big fire or you put a very little bit of rice, because cooked rice, when you stack a whole lot of cooked rice on top of a fire, it tends to dampen the fire down and the flames go out, so like that. So yes, you can do Purusha Shukta Homa. Here's Purusha Shukta Homa, right? So that is a Pradhana. That's the Pradhana Homa. Usually it will be done as a Pradhana Homa, but Vaishnavas might use it as a Praia Homa. Vaishnavas might also, in some Pancharatric ceremonies, you might use Sri Shukta and Purusha Shukta, or you might use Panchashukta and do Panchashukta Homa of all 5 or 6 homas. You can do homas with any shuktas, so as you like. All we talked about today was the general starting of a homa, ending of a homa. That's all. Okay, so any other questions?
For example, in the Sankalpa, when it's mentioned,
which Sankalpa? In the very beginning.
Yes, or even in the end, there are 2 lines that mention what is the name of the Homa and what is the name of the fire.
Yeah, he's given in this. He's given an appendix and he's given names of the fire. That's not always done. See if we go to the very end of the document. Here we have appendix. Agnir Namani, names of fires. So he gives the Kriya, meaning what's the activity you're going to do, and the name of the fire. So for Vivaha, the fire is Yojika, the fire of joining. For Garbhadanam, Marutaha, right? For Punksavana, Chandrapavamana, right? Like that, right? Or I'm not sure whether that Pavamana is supposed to go with Karmada. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's given different activities, Diksha, Samudbhava, right? So whatever it is, I don't know where he got these names from. My experience is that mostly people don't name the fire. They just do an opposite. They just do a Vedic Kusandika according to their system, and call and use Smarta Agni from the house. If the Grihasta has not kept the house, if they're doing a domestic, there's all sorts of different fires. Okay, so if you're doing a domestic ritual like a samskara for a Grihasta, like that, he's supposed to keep the fire. The fire is the one that he keeps, that he's used. That's Smarta Agni in his house. If he doesn't do Upasana twice a day and Stalipaka twice a month, then the fire will go out. And if the fire goes out, he has to light that fire again. So there's a special ceremony called Vichina Agni Sandhanam, where if you've broken that fire, if that fire has been extinguished, you have to reestablish it. Just like if there's a Guru Parampara and it's extinguished, you have to reestablish it. If there's a line of knowledge, or if there's a line of anything, right? If there's a line and it's broken, it has to be reestablished. So if there's a line of Upasana Homas, which is broken, Upasana and Stalipaka Homas, which is keeping the Grihasta's Smarta Agni alive in his house, to fix that, he does a thing called Vichina Agni Sandhanam. I'm working on an explanation of what that is with a video, and anybody who wants to see that, they can just get in touch with me, and we can show that, and we can explain what the mantras are, like that. And the Praia also for having broken and not done your Upasana Homa, because it's not just a matter of starting the fire and doing the fire again, but you have to do Praia for the fact that you didn't do the fire since you were married or for some time or whatever it is. You have to reestablish it, the domestic fire.
Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya.